Chapter 742. Since the beginning of the debate, he had been at a disadvantage. Now he could only use a rogue method to insist that traditional Chinese medicine was not scientific. Otherwise he would be defeated today. Qin Haodong sneered and flicked his left index finger gently. An invisible wind shot out. With a crack, Lu Zhiping's left leg suddenly broke into two parts. "Ah!" the guy suddenly screamed. Looking at his calf, which had become V-shaped, he immediately pointed at Qin Haodong and shouted, "How dare you hit me? You can't argue with me, so you hit me. Is this the style of traditional Chinese medicine?" Although the pain was unbearable, he still used his final trump card for the 20 million bonus. Qin Haodong spread out his hands and said, "Mr. Lu, you've wronged me. I'm sitting here. Everyone can see it clearly. When did I hit you? According to what you said, it's not scientific at all." At the same time, with another crack, Lu Zhiping's other calf also became V-shaped. The reporters and students below the stage were completely confused. What the hell was going on? Everyone saw clearly that Lu Zhiping was sitting alone on the debate stage. There was no one around him, and Qin Haodong did nothing special. How did his leg break? I see it. It must be the wrath of God. This guy has been punished by God for doing things against his conscience. That's right. This guy always likes to talk nonsense. I've been unhappy with him for a long time. God help me vent my anger. At this time, Lu Zhiping couldn't bear the pain on the stage anymore. He shouted crazily, "Where's the doctor? Hurry up and help me." Seeing that the debate had suddenly become like this, Wan Taisong stood up from the audience and said to the two doctors next to him, "Take him away and send him to the central hospital." Hearing that he would be sent to the central hospital dozens of kilometers away, Lu Zhiping immediately cried, "Don't you have a traditional Chinese medicine hospital here? Don't you have a Chinese medicine doctor who can fix bones? Hurry up and fix my leg. I'm going to die of pain." Wan Taisong sneered and said, "Mr. Lu Zhiping, you just said that traditional Chinese medicine is witchcraft and it's not scientific. How dare we treat you? What if we kill you? We can't afford to take this responsibility." Then he waved his hand. Two school medical staff carried a stretcher to the debate stage and took Lu Zhiping out. Seeing that one side of the debate was strangely injured, the debate was about to end. The reporters put away their cameras and the other students present were also ready to leave. Wait a minute. At this moment, Qin Haodong stopped everyone. Under many surprised gazes, he took out a remote control from his pocket and lit up the big screen in the venue. The big screen slowly turned on, and then a video call appeared in front of everyone's eyes. The video was not long and it was Lu Zhiping. It was of the Lu Zhiping's conversation. After reading the contents, everyone present understood what was going on. Anger immediately filled the entire venue. Lu Zhiping, who had always flaunted himself as a guardian of science, turned out to be a dog raised by the Westerners. Today's debate was also for the 20 million prize money. Then, Qin Haodong played the selected information of last night on the big screen, revealing what Lu Zhiping had done over the years. The debate had no result, and the reporters were quite disappointed. But when they saw the information, they immediately became excited. They pointed the cameras in their hands at the big screen and kept recording. After that, Qin Haodong turned off the big screen and said to everyone present, "As you can see, to be honest, I was also very depressed when I got this information, not for anything else, but for the difficult living environment in which we traditional Chinese medicine practitioners live. Today is the third debate I have participated in for traditional Chinese medicine. The first time was at the exchange meeting between Wuxia and Neon. At that time, the Neon people said that their medical skills were learned from Wuxia, but they were better than Wuxia, and that traditional Chinese medicine in Wuxia had declined. The second debate was at the Shanghai Medical College, and the opponent was Koryo doctors. They said that traditional Chinese medicine in Wuxia originated from Koryo, and one of the important reasons was that traditional Chinese medicine was declining, not as prosperous as Koryo. The third debate was today, and I was facing a compatriot who desperately slandered traditional Chinese medicine, a traitor who had been bribed with money. From these three debates, it can be seen that today's traditional Chinese medicine can be said to be suffering from internal and external troubles, and it is difficult to move forward. Why did those people bribe Lu Zhiping to discredit traditional Chinese medicine? Of course they will not do it without profit. Their ultimate goal is to occupy the huge medical market in Wuxia. As long as our people eat less traditional Chinese medicine and more Western medicine, they will make endless profits. Their dream is to completely erase traditional Chinese medicine from Wuxia one day. At that time, our country will become the world of Western medicine. They can raise the price of medicine unscrupulously. through the channel of the pharmaceutical industry, they can reasonably and legally rob our money and suck our blood. In fact, there is no winner in today's debate, but only a wake-up call for us. As a doctor of traditional Chinese medicine, I hope that from today onwards, all of us in China will support our own medical skills. Don't believe in those rumors with ulterior motives. Only with the development of traditional Chinese medicine can we save more compatriots and bring more benefits to our Chinese people. Good, that's great. Mr. Qin, we support you. Traditional Chinese medicine is the quintessence of our country. Long live traditional Chinese medicine. We support traditional Chinese medicine. Come on, Mr. Qin. Come on, traditional Chinese medicine. Come on, Wuxia. For a moment, the enthusiasm in the venue was high. Everyone was cheering for Qin Haodong and traditional Chinese medicine. At the same time, people on the internet cursed Lu Zhiping after watching the live broadcast. The original more than 10 million fans had completely turned against him and became more than 10 million anti-fans, cursing him for being a traitor. The Public Security Department immediately took action and brought Lu Zhiping to justice according to the information provided by Qin Haodong. So far, the debate on traditional Chinese medicine came to a successful end with the victory of traditional Chinese medicine. Qin Haodong became the hero of the entire Capital Medical College and the hero in the hearts of millions of Wuxia people. After the debate, Qin Haodong had another class and then left the Capital Medical College. They came to Su Hui's clinic and had a simple lunch at noon. In the afternoon they saw patients together. Every time he appeared in the video he would add a little illusion on his face so no one recognized that the young doctor in front of them was the hero of traditional Chinese medicine on the internet. Everyone saw patients in an orderly manner. At about 2 o'clock, when they saw almost all the patients in the room, a middle-aged man in his 40s came in. The man was dressed in rustic clothes and looked quite honest, like a standard farmer. He held a canvas bag in his hand. After entering the door he asked, "Who is the boss of the clinic?" It was the first time for Su Hui to go out of the school gate, so she didn't know much about the dirty things in society. After seeing the man's clothes, she immediately had a good impression of him and said, "Brother, do you want to see a doctor?" The middle-aged man said, "Miss, you are the boss. I don't see a doctor." Su Hui said in surprise, "You don't see a doctor. What can I do for you?" "Miss, my family is from the northeast and I have been collecting herbs for a living. A few days ago, I picked a century-old ginseng. I was afraid that it was sold too cheaply in our country, so I came to the capital to try my luck. Let me see how much this ginseng is worth. It doesn't matter whether I want it or not. You can help me estimate the price. You can see that I'm not educated and I'm afraid of being cheated." The middle-aged man said as he took out a red cloth bag from his canvas bag. Qin Haodong had been watching from the side. He had long seen that there was something wrong with this man. Although he looked honest on the surface, a treacherous look flashed in his eyes from time to time. Su Hui couldn't see it, but he could see it. With him here, he was not afraid of what this guy would do. "Really? A century-old ginseng? I'm out of stock here. If it's really a century-old ginseng, I can give you a reasonable price." Su Hui took the red envelope as she spoke and carefully opened it. After opening it, she saw something similar to ginseng inside. It looked quite similar to ginseng, but she grew up with Su Hongba and had seen some century-old ginseng. Her ability to identify medicinal materials was very strong. She took the so-called century-old ginseng in her hand. First she carefully checked the color, then she sniffed it. Then she put it on the table and said, "I'm sorry, brother. I can't take your ginseng." Before going out, Su Hongba also taught her some rules of buying medicinal materials. Even if she saw that there was something wrong with the other party's medicinal materials, she shouldn't point it out on the spot. She just didn't want to buy it. Qin Haodong nodded secretly. This was not ginseng but something carved from the root of a tree. However, the appearance was particularly realistic. It was obvious that it was made by an expert at first glance. The middle-aged man said, "Miss, although my ginseng doesn't look very good, it's a real old ginseng. I dug it out of the mountain myself. I think you're an honest person. How about I sell it to you for 200,000 yuan? Su Hui shook her head and said, "I'm sorry, brother. I can't take your ginseng." "Miss, don't be like this. It's not easy for me to come to the capital. I'll sell it to you at a lower price. How about 150,000 yuan? Seeing that Su Hui still shook her head, he gritted his teeth and pretended to be very desperate. "How about 100,000 yuan? As long as you give me 100,000 yuan, this century-old ginseng is yours. Miss, believe me, I'm sure you'll make a profit. You can sell it at a higher price if you sell it. Brother, you'd better take it to someone else's house and ask. Then Su Hui wrapped the ginseng carved from the root of a tree again and sent it to the middle-aged man. At this time, the middle-aged man knew that Su Hui had already seen that it was a fake. His expression suddenly changed. Since you don't want it, then forget it. I'll sell it to someone else. I'm sure I can sell it at a higher price. He pretended to open the cloth bag again and checked his ginseng. Then he shouted with an exaggerated expression, "Where's my ginseng? This is not my ginseng." He put down the cloth bag, pointed at Su Hui's nose and shouted, "Little girl, I think you look like a decent person. You actually swapped my 100-year-old ginseng. Hurry up and take it out or I'll kill you today." Su Hui was shocked at first and then she said anxiously, I didn't touch your ginseng at all. When did I switch your ginseng? Besides, this is not ginseng at all. It's a fake to deceive people. Nonsense. It's obvious that you bullied me, a farmer from the mountains. I dug this ginseng myself. How could it be fake? Hearing the shouting here, several patients who had just come in to see the doctor and passers-by at the door all came over. When the middle-aged man saw people coming over, he immediately burst into tears and snot. Chapter 743. Everyone please be the judge. I'm from the northeastern mountains. I dug up 100-year-old ginseng and wanted to sell it for my child's school fees. I didn't expect that the black-hearted shopkeeper here would swap the ginseng for me and say that it's fake. How am I supposed to live now? The middle-aged man's acting skills were no worse than those of professional actors. He cried sadly. Really? She looks gentle and quiet. How can she be so evil? No way. Dr. Su is a good person. How could she do such a thing? You can't judge a book by its cover. Look at how pitiful this man is crying. I'd rather believe him. Hearing the discussion around her, Su Hui cried anxiously, No, I didn't touch his ginseng. It's fake. But no matter how she defended herself, the people around her were still fooled by the middle-aged man's simple and honest appearance. Most of them chose to believe the middle-aged man and accused Su Hui of being evil and cheating him of his ginseng. The middle-aged man cried, I don't care. Anyway, you must give me 200,000 yuan today, or I'll hang myself in your shop. Qin Haodong sneered. This guy was really versatile. After failing to cheat, he changed to blackmail. What was Su Hui going to say? But Qin Haodong pulled her behind him. He picked up the red cloth bag and looked at it. Then he said to the middle-aged man, Brother, are you mistaken? This is a 100-year-old ginseng. When did you replace it with a fake one? How about this? I think the quality of your ginseng is good. It's really good stuff. I'll buy it for 200,000 yuan. Hearing that Qin Haodong wanted to buy his ginseng, the middle-aged man immediately smiled and said, Yes, you're right. This is the 100-year-old ginseng I just bought. If you pay me 200,000 yuan, I'll sell it to you. Hearing that Qin Haodong wanted to buy the ginseng, Su Hui hurriedly pulled his sleeve and cried, Haodong, you can't be cheated. This ginseng is fake. Qin Haodong stubbornly said, How can it be? Brother, this is a 100-year-old ginseng. We'll definitely get a big bargain if we buy it for 200,000 yuan. The middle-aged man calmed down and said to Qin Haodong, Young man, can you make the decision or not? Professional swindlers like them had already figured out the situation of this shop and knew that Su Hui was the boss. Qin Haodong saw his doubts and said, Brother, don't worry. Although this store is not mine, it is my girlfriend's and my girlfriend is mine, so I can make the decision for this store. Su Hui originally wanted to say something, but when she heard the person she liked say that she was his, she immediately became shy, and her heart was filled with sudden happiness. She no longer cared whether the ginseng was real or not. In her opinion, even if it was fake, it didn't matter. She could afford it anyway as long as Qin Haodong liked it. When the middle-aged man heard this, he immediately smiled. Little brother, you really are a straightforward person who knows what's good for you. Then let's trade now. Su Hui said, Transfer the money. I have a card here. Qin Haodong said, Don't bother. We have cash at home. As he spoke, he turned around and opened a cabinet. Under the cover of the cabinet, he took out 2 bundles of Wuxia currency from the storage ring and threw them in front of the middle-aged man. Take a look. 1 bundle is 100,000 yuan, and 2 bundles are exactly 200,000 yuan. Seeing the 2 neat bundles of Wuxia currency, the middle-aged man's eyes immediately lit up. He quickly reached out and held the money in his arms. He had been in this business for some time, but it was the first time that he had made such a smooth transaction. Little brother, we're done with the goods. I'm leaving. Then he was about to leave. Qin Haodong reached out to pick up the fake ginseng and said, Brother, if you have such good goods in the future, please send them to me. Now that the transaction is done, I'll tell you the truth. Some time ago, I saw a 100-year-old ginseng that was smaller than this one sold for 3 million yuan. This one is worth at least 5 million yuan. As he spoke, he directly used mind manipulating to make the middle-aged man feel that the fake ginseng in front of him was a big treasure, which was definitely worth more than 5 million yuan. And he had made a loss by selling it for only 200,000 yuan. After reaching the nascent soul realm, his mind manipulating had been greatly improved, and he could affect another person's mind. In an instant, the middle-aged man's smile disappeared. On the contrary, his face was full of regret. Qin Haodong made a small illusion on the fake ginseng again. In the eyes of others, it was a real 100-year-old ginseng. Everyone take a look. I've picked up a treasure in the shop today. Haven't you all seen a 100-year-old ginseng before? Look at the color, size, and roots of this ginseng. It's obviously a good thing dug out from the mountains. Hearing his words, the others began to carefully look at the ginseng. A middle-aged man in his 50s said, "Little brother, I used to be in the medicine business and I've seen a lot of good goods. To be honest, none of them are as good as yours. You've really found a treasure." After the man finished speaking, the others also began to echo, "It's really a 100-year-old ginseng. Little brother, you're going to be rich. I heard that a 100-year-old ginseng in the wild is priceless now. It can be sold for at least millions of yuan. Little brother, you have a good eye. It seems that you've made a lot of money by buying such a big treasure with 200,000 yuan. Even Su Hui, who was next to him, had a look of surprise on her face. Why did the ginseng look different from before? Did she make a mistake? At this moment, the middle-aged man slammed the 2 bundles of money in his hand on the table and shouted, "This ginseng is mine. Give it back to me." Qin Haodong's face changed and he said, "Brother, you're wrong. The ginseng has already been sold to me." The others also shouted, "Yes, we've just paid the money. How can you go back on your word?" The middle-aged man cried in annoyance, "I'm not selling it. It's only 200,000 yuan. How can I sell it to you? Take the money back and give the ginseng back to me." Qin Haodong said with a sullen face, "Do you think you're not selling it? There are so many people watching. You just sold it to me." The middle-aged man was bloated. He was so angry that his face turned red and he cried, "Then I'll buy it back. Sell it to me again. I just bought something good. Why should I sell it to you? No, this is my ginseng. You have to sell it to me or I'll hang myself in your shop today." The middle-aged man used his rogue method again, but his purpose was completely different from before. This time he wanted to buy the fake ginseng. Qin Haodong pretended to be afraid and said, Don't. Please don't. I'm doing business to make money. In that case I'll sell it to you. But it can't be so cheap. My ginseng is worth at least 5 million yuan. You have to pay at least 2 million yuan. The middle-aged man said, 2 million yuan? I don't have that much money. Just 1 million yuan. You have to sell it to me. 1 million yuan. Do you want cash or transfer? Of course. Who carries so much cash when they go out? Transfer is fine too. This is my account number. Qin Haodong took out Su Hui's bank card and threw it over. The middle-aged man took out his mobile phone and began to transfer the money quickly. It seemed that he was afraid that Qin Haodong would go back on his word. Soon, Su Hui's mobile phone rang and 1 million yuan was transferred to her account. Su Hui looked at the number on her mobile phone and was stunned. Wasn't he going to sell the ginseng to her? How could he make 1 million yuan in the blink of an eye? After the transfer, the middle-aged man didn't look at them anymore. He ran out with the ginseng in his arms as if he was holding a rare treasure. Soon he ran into a rented house not far away. A middle-aged man with a pockmarked face was sitting on the sofa, smoking and watching TV. They were brothers. The pockmarked man was the eldest, and the middle-aged man was the second. They had been in this business together for many years. "Brother, I'm back," the middle-aged man shouted excitedly. Seeing his excitement, the pockmarked man thought that he had succeeded. He said, "How is it? Is this little girl easy to cheat?" He had already inquired about her. Su Hui was just a little girl who had just graduated from school. She had no social experience and was very simple. So he stayed at home and let his second brother go to the clinic alone to cheat. "Brother, 5 million. 5 million. The middle-aged man shouted excitedly with the fake ginseng in his arms. "What 5 million? Did you cheat 5 million? Hearing his words, the pockmarked man jumped up. "I didn't cheat 5 million. Our ginseng is worth 5 million. The middle-aged man was still under the control of mind manipulating. He said excitedly, "Brother, our ginseng is a good treasure. It's a century-old good. At first, I sold it for 200,000 yuan, but later I found that it was worth 5 million yuan. I was very smart and bought it back with 1 million yuan. The pockmarked man's expression changed. Where did you get 1 million yuan? Didn't we swindle it all these years? I've been keeping it with me. The pockmarked man grabbed the ginseng in the middle-aged man's arms. It was the fake one that they had made. It was not a century-old ginseng. F***CK. F***CKU. F***CKU. The pockmarked man was so angry that he didn't care that they were brothers. He raised his leg and kicked the middle-aged man in the lower abdomen. He directly kicked him to the ground and threw the fake ginseng on his face. The middle-aged man got up and shouted, "Brother, why did you hit me?" "I hit you. I'll kill you directly." The pockmarked man punched and kicked the middle-aged man again. When his anger was almost vented, he touched the fake ginseng and said, "Look, this is the fake I made. Look, this is a fake I made. How could it be 100-year-old ginseng? You threw away all the 1 million yuan I earned. Did you get kicked in the head by a donkey?" After this fierce beating, the middle-aged man finally got rid of the mind manipulating. When he saw the fake ginseng, he seemed to wake up from a dream. "Brother, I was cheated by that guy," the pockmarked man said angrily. "We've been hunting geese all year round. I didn't expect that we would be pecked blind by the geese today. Tell me, how did you do it? 1 million yuan, that's 1 million yuan. We cheated for so many years and only got so little money, but it was taken away by that guy." The middle-aged man said with a sad face, "I don't know what happened. I was cheated by that guy. Brother, what should we do? Let's fight with that guy and get the money back." "What for? Can we get it back?" The pockmarked man thought for a moment and said, "It seems that I can only ask my cousin to do it this time." Then he took out his mobile phone and dialed a phone number. He said with a flattering face, "Cousin? We have something on our side. I want to ask you for a favor." "Don't worry, I won't let you do it for nothing. Didn't my wife ask you for a diamond ring recently? After it's done, leave the diamond ring to me. Don't worry, the other party is just a female college student from another place. She has no background at all. You can do whatever you want." "Great, then I'll thank you, cousin. I'll go out with my second brother to find you now. With my cousin, that guy is dead. Let's go and find him together." The pockmarked man hung up the phone and walked out with the middle-aged man. Chapter 744. Qin Haodong was treating a patient in the clinic when the cell phone in his pocket rang. He took a look and found that it was a strange phone number. He pressed the answer button and heard a middle-aged woman's voice. "Little Qin, this is your Auntie Liao." "Auntie Liao?" Qin Haodong didn't know who this person was for a moment, so he heard the other side explain, "Have you forgotten me? You just cured my cervical spondylosis the day before yesterday." He immediately remembered that this person was Xiao Weiman's wife, Liao Shiyuan. He quickly said, "Hello, Auntie Liao. I was busy treating a patient, so I didn't recognize you. I'm really sorry." Liao Shiyuan said, "You're not familiar with me. You must come to my house more often in the future. You better bring your girlfriend with you." Qin Haodong had a good impression of Liao Shiyuan. He said, "Auntie Liao, what can I do for you?" "Well, little Qin, my cervical spondylosis has been cured by you these days." Auntie was a little complacent and exercised too hard. "Yesterday when I was dancing in the square, I twisted my waist. It hasn't gotten better yet. Can you take a look at it for me?" In fact, twisting her waist was not a serious disease at all. She could be treated in other hospitals. As the minister's wife, there were naturally countless doctors willing to serve her. However, Liao Shuyuan only trusted Qin Haodong now. She didn't trust anyone else. "Auntie Liao, is it convenient for you to move now? If it's convenient, come to my clinic. If it's not convenient, I'll go to your house after seeing the patient." "Little Qin, have you opened a clinic?" Liao Shuyuan said, "I can't do strenuous activities with my waist, but I can walk. I'll go to your house now and visit your clinic on the way. It'll be more convenient for me to see a doctor in the future." Then she hung up the phone and appeared in front of the Donghui Clinic of Traditional Chinese Medicine half an hour later. At this time, Qin Haodong and Su Hui had almost seen all the patients. Seeing her enter the door, they immediately greeted her. "Auntie Liao, you're here." Out of politeness, Su Hui also greeted Qin Haodong. "Hello, Auntie." "Good, good." Although she was the minister's wife, Liao Shuyuan had the same problem as other middle-aged women. She was particularly interested in other people's girlfriends. After seeing the quiet and beautiful Su Hui, she even forgot her waist pain. She immediately pulled Qin Haodong and said, "Little Qin, is this your girlfriend? You're so beautiful. You two are really a good match." Qin Haodong said awkwardly, "Auntie Liao, don't you want to see a doctor? Come with me." Then he led Liao Shuyuan into the massage room next door. Although Su Hui's clinic was not big, it had all kinds of facilities. There was a massage room made of fiberglass next to the door. The glass here was one-way transparent. People inside could see outside, but people outside could not see inside. Qin Haodong checked Liao Shiyuan's waist injury and said, "Auntie, it's a simple muscle strain. It's easy to cure. Just lie on the bed for a while and you'll be cured in 10 minutes. Little Qin, I believe in your medical skills now." After saying that, Liao Shiyuan slowly lay on the massage bed. Qin Haodong put his hands on her waist and began to massage. His massage technique was special. Coupled with the nourishment of the greenwood genuine qi, Liao Shiyuan didn't feel the pain in her back. On the contrary, she felt very comfortable. "Any Liao, take a rest here. You'll be completely cured in 10 minutes. Liao Shiyuan sighed and said, "Little Qin, I don't mean to praise you, but your medical skills are really amazing." Su Hui was treating a patient outside when a middle-aged man in uniform suddenly appeared in front of the clinic, followed by a pockmarked man and the man who had just given them 1 million yuan. Her heart sank. Even if she had no social experience, she knew that she was in trouble. The man in uniform entered the door and said, "Which one of you is the boss?" Su Hui stood up and said, "I am." The man in uniform said, "I'm Chiu Yutong, the chief of the inspection department of the sanitary bureau. I just heard a report that your clinic is selling fake medicine, so I came to check it out." Well, it was the first time for Su Hui to experience such a thing, so she was at a loss. "Tell me what you want." Qin Haodong walked out of the massage room and came to them. "Cousin. No. Chief Chiu, this is the guy who cheated me of 1 million yuan. The middle-aged man immediately recognized Qin Haodong when he saw him. Chiu Yutong glanced at Qin Haodong and found that he was just a young boy. He did not take him seriously and said arrogantly, "Is that so? Did you just cheat the victim of 1 million yuan?" Qin Haodong smiled and said, "You must be joking. We are doctors. How can we cheat people? How dare you be so stubborn?" Chiu Yutong took out the fake ginseng from his bag and threw it on the table in front of him. "This is the evidence." Qin Haodong glanced at the ginseng and said with a smile, "Brother, you're right. I sold this ginseng, but it was a fair deal. I didn't cheat you at all." Chiu Yutong said, "This ginseng is fake. You sold it for 1 million yuan. Isn't it a fraud?" Qin Haodong said in an orderly manner, "Brother, this ginseng was brought here by him. He said that it was a century-old ginseng and he dug it out from the mountain himself. How could it be fake? If it's really fake, you should catch him instead of me." Chiu Yutong was a little confused. Indeed, this fake ginseng was taken out by his cousin. Even if it was fake, it had nothing to do with Qin Haodong. He had worked in the sanitary bureau for so many years, but it was the first time that he had encountered such a strange thing. Qin Haodong said with a smile, "Brother, I thought it was a century-old ginseng and bought it for 200,000 yuan, but he insisted on buying it. If I didn't sell it, he would hang himself in my shop. I had no choice but to sell it to him. How could it be a fraud?" Several patients who had just come to see Qin Haodong were still nearby. Seeing this, they immediately came over to testify for Qin Haodong. "Yes, we saw it with our own eyes. This ginseng was brought here by him. Whether it's real or not, it has nothing to do with Dr. Qin. We can testify. He insisted on buying the ginseng and said that if he didn't sell it to him, he would hang himself in the clinic. Why did he come back to make trouble? Is he shameless?" "That's enough. Shut up." Since he couldn't reason with them, Chiu Yutong took out his official position and shouted angrily. Since this Chinese medicine practitioner had no background, he could do whatever he wanted. He didn't believe that an outsider could cause any trouble. At the same time, the pockmark-faced man and the middle-aged man also had a fierce look in their eyes. They reached for their waists and revealed the handle of the dagger. Seeing this situation, the patients immediately shut their mouths and stepped back. They were just here to see a doctor. It was okay for them to say a few words for Qin Haodong, but it was not worthwhile to lose their lives. Chiu Yutong said to Qin Haodong, "I don't care whether you're a fraud or not. You should behave like a doctor. Hurry up and return the ginseng to him. Give him 2 million yuan. Su Hui said, "Brother, it doesn't make sense. Even if you want to return the ginseng, you should return it to him with 1 million yuan. Why do you still want our 200,000 yuan? Chiu Yutong said, "Why not? Didn't he sell the ginseng to you for 200,000 yuan? Su Hui said, "Then we'll also return the ginseng. We don't want it anymore." Chiu Yutong said, "No. We've already sold the ginseng to you. You can't return it at will." Although Qin Haodong had already seen that they were on the same side, he still laughed and said, "Brother, your theory is so strange. They can return the ginseng at will, but we can't?" Chiu Yutong was stunned and then said, "Of course. You're the owner of the shop and you have to be trustworthy. Since they want to return the ginseng, you must return it. But this man is just an ordinary farmer. Since he has sold the ginseng, you can't return it." Qin Haodong said, "No, it doesn't make sense. We don't agree." Su Hui said, "We can take back the 1 million yuan at most. The 200,000 yuan is our own money." Chiu Yutong was counting on buying a diamond ring with the 200,000 yuan. He immediately glared at them and said firmly, "Do what I say? Do you still want to open your shop or not? Is it up to you to decide whether we want to open our shop or not?" Liao Shuyuan had heard the whole story clearly. She could no longer hold back her anger and walked out of the massage room. Chiu Yutong looked back. Although he worked in the sanitary department, his rank was too low, so he didn't know Liao Shuyuan at all. He thought that she was just an ordinary patient here, so he shouted rudely again, "It's none of your business. Get out of my way." Liao Shuyuan's face was full of anger. For so many years, no one had dared to scold her. "What are you talking about? What's your attitude?" "What's my attitude? I'm from the inspection department of the sanitary bureau. I'm enforcing the law here. Don't interfere with my work or I'll arrest you." Hearing this guy calling her his father, Liao Shuyuan trembled with anger. She pointed at his nose and shouted, "You're from the sanitary bureau, right? Do you want to arrest me? Just wait and see. I'll see how you can arrest me." Then he took out his mobile phone and dialed the number of Yang Haijing, the director of the sanitary bureau. "Old Yang, I don't care where you are. Get to the Donghui Clinic of Traditional Chinese Medicine in 5 minutes." Yang Haijing was going out with his driver. He was shocked when he received Liao Shuyuan's call. In his memory, he had never seen the minister's wife so angry. He didn't know what had happened. No matter what, he had to get there immediately. He immediately shouted to the driver in the front, "Turn around. Donghui Clinic of Traditional Chinese Medicine. Be fast. We must get there in 5 minutes." After hanging up the phone, Liao Shuyuan was still angry. She dialed another number and said, "Cousin, I'm at the Donghui Clinic of Traditional Chinese Medicine. Someone said that they want to arrest me. Come here as soon as possible." Seeing that Liao Shuyuan had made the call, Chiu Yutong sneered and said, "Are you calling for help? Do you think I'm scared? I'll wait here. Let's see if you can find the king of the country." Qin Haodong couldn't help shaking his head. He had seen people who were courting death, but he had never seen such a person. He had abused his power, and now he was showing off in front of the minister's wife. It seemed that he could not keep his hat. Liao Shuyuan sneered and said, "Then let's wait and see if you can still laugh later." Ah, 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 ah. Chiu Yutong laughed wildly and said, "I like to laugh. What's wrong with that? Don't tell me you can take off my hat." He had some connections in the sanitary bureau. One of the deputy directors had a good relationship with him, so he did not take Liao Shuyuan seriously at all. After saying that, he pulled a chair from the side and sat on it in a dignified manner. After a while, he looked at his watch and said, "Bitch, it's been 5 minutes. Why hasn't the person you're looking for come yet?" Chapter 745. Yang Haijing received a call from Liao Shuyuan and hurried over. As soon as he stepped into the clinic, he saw his subordinate sitting there arrogantly calling Liao Shuyuan AB*Tsich. This gave him quite a fright. He slipped and almost fell to the ground. He was calling the minister's wife AB*Tsich. Did this guy want to die? If you want to go home and do it to your father. Why did you do it to me? Chiu Yutong was sitting there with a complacent look on his face. Suddenly he saw a man staggering in. He was about to panic when he saw that it was his director. "Director Yang, are you all right?" He quickly jumped up from the sofa and held Yang Haijing up. "Get out of here." Yang Haijing was going crazy. If it weren't for his identity, he would have slapped this guy in the face. After getting rid of Chiu Yutong, he came to Liao Shuyuan and said embarrassedly, "Sister Liao, I'm here. What's going on?" Chiu Yutong was completely dumbfounded. He didn't expect that the woman in front of him would call his director here. Who on earth was she? How could she be so awesome? Liao Shuyuan was so angry that her face turned livid. She said to Yang Haijing, "I remember that Minister Xiao has repeatedly stressed that you should enforce the law in a civilized and honest manner. But what's wrong with your subordinate? He's swearing and abusing his power. He's simply a bandit. Is this how you lead your subordinates?" Her words scared not only Yang Haijing but also Chiu Yutong, who was trembling with fear. The woman who could know Minister Xiao and reprimand their director like this must be Minister Xiao's wife. Chiu Yutong really wanted to kill himself when he thought that he had just called the minister's wife AB*TCH and asked someone to arrest her. He didn't know how this young man got the minister's wife to come here. Didn't they say that this clinic had no powerful background? How could it have such a powerful background? He hated the pockmarked man to death. If it weren't for the fact that his hands and feet were not weak at this time, he would really go over and strangle this guy who had tricked his cousin. Sister Liao, don't be angry. It's my fault. Don't worry. I'll deal with this matter now. I'll definitely satisfy you. Then Yang Haijing looked back at Chiu Yutong. If his eyes could kill, Chiu Yutong would have died 100 times. Tell me what's going on? Chief Chiu Yutong, who had been extremely arrogant just a moment ago, was now completely stuttering. He could not even say a complete sentence. Qin Haodong stepped forward and said, Director Yang, let me tell you. Only then did Yang Haijing notice Qin Haodong. He said in surprise, Little Qin, why are you here? Qin Haodong said, Director Yang, this is my clinic. Chief Chiu just blackmailed me. Hearing that, Yang Haijing's heart sank to the bottom. He had wondered why Liao Shuyuan would appear in a small clinic. It turned out that it was Qin Haodong's clinic. Now Qin Haodong's reputation in Wuxia was like the sun at high noon. Not only had he cured the old General Mu Bison in the capital, but he had also been awarded the Best Medical Contribution Award by Xiao Weiman. He was the honorary president of the World Medical Association and the widely recognized medical sage. Thinking that such a person had been blackmailed by his subordinate, he really had an impulse to kill Chiu Yutong. Here's the thing, Director Yang. Qin Haodong told him what had happened and finally said, Director Yang, I don't know the rules of the Sanitary Bureau. I don't know whether what Chief Chiu said is reasonable or not. If that's the rule of the Sanitary Bureau, I'll give him all the 1.2 million yuan now. No, you don't have to pay back a penny. Yang Haijing shouted angrily at Chiu Yutong, who told you to come out and enforce the law? From now on you're fired. Hearing this, Chiu Yutong sat on the ground. He had thought that he would be fired at most, but he did not expect that Yang Haijing would punish him so severely. The pockmark-faced man and the middle-aged man who were standing behind him could not help but turn pale when they saw the scene in front of them. They did not expect that this small clinic would have such a powerful background. Then they felt a little lucky. Fortunately, this person was from the Sanitary Bureau and could not control them. Otherwise, they would be in big trouble today. But at this moment, a siren sounded and 2 police cars stopped in front of the clinic. 4 uniformed policemen jumped out of the cars and strode towards the clinic. Cousin, what's going on? Who said that they want to arrest you? While speaking, the leading middle-aged policeman came to Liao Shuyuan. He was Tan Shuguang, the director of the East City Public Security Bureau and also Liao Shuyuan's cousin. When he heard that his cousin had been wronged in his place, he immediately rushed over with his men. Liao Shuyuan pointed to Chiu Yutong and the other 2 people and said, It's them. They came here with fake ginseng to deceive people and show off. Seeing that the police were coming, the pockmark-faced man and the middle-aged man could no longer stay calm. They turned around and ran away. Because it happened so suddenly, when Tan Shuguang and the policeman behind him realized what was going on, the 2 people had already run more than 10 meters away. Qin Haodong sneered. It was not easy for them to run away in front of him. He secretly stretched out 2 fingers and flicked them gently. Then 2 gusts of wind shot out. The pockmark-faced man and the middle-aged man were running happily. Suddenly they felt their knees go soft and then fell to the ground. Due to their fast speed, the 2 of them fell heavily. By the time they got up, the policeman brought by Tan Shuguang had already rushed over and handcuffed them without saying a word. Tan Shuguang waved his hand and said, Take them back for a strict investigation. Qin Haodong pointed to Chiu Yutong on the ground and said, Officer, and this guy. I suspect that he is with those 2 people. Tan Shuguang did not know Qin Haodong. Seeing that Chiu Yutong was wearing the uniform of the Sanitary Bureau, he looked at Yang Haijing in embarrassment. They were officials in the same city, so they were naturally familiar with each other. Yang Haijing said, Director Tan, do as Dr. Qin said. This guy has been fired by the Sanitary Bureau. Tan Shuguang waved his hand and 2 more policemen came over and took Chiu Yutong into the police car. After everything was done, Liao Shuyuan's face relaxed a little. She pulled Tan Shuguang's sleeve and said, Shuguang, let me introduce you to Dr. Qin. He cured my cervical spondylosis. Tan Shuguang had heard about Qin Haodong from his cousin. When he heard that the young man in front of him was the famous medical sage, he quickly stretched out his hands and said, Dr. Qin, you're really young and promising. I've heard about you for a long time. It's my honor to meet you today. Although he was the director of the Public Security Bureau in Dongqing District, Qin Haodong was a miracle-working doctor who wouldn't get sick. Maybe he would ask Qin Haodong for help one day. Therefore he did not put on airs and was very enthusiastic. "Director Tan, you're welcome." Qin Haodong shook hands with Tan Shuguang politely. Liao Shuyuan said, "Shuguang old Yang, this is little Qin's clinic. Please take care of him in the future." Tan Shuguang and Yang Haijing patted their chests and said, "Don't worry. Dr. Qin's business is our business. No matter what happens here in the future, we'll take care of it." They sat down and chatted for a while and then they left one after another. At this time, there were no other patients in the clinic except Qin Haodong and Su Hui. Su Hui said to Qin Haodong, "Haodong, thank you so much for today. Thanks to you, I really don't know what to do." Qin Haodong said, "It's nothing. You don't have to be so polite." Su Hui sighed and said, "This society is really complicated. I thought I could open a clinic if I had the ability, but I didn't expect to encounter so many things." A few days ago, she met a big man with a gold chain who came to play hooligan. Today there was a big blackmailer. She really couldn't deal with it. Qin Haodong said, "Well, I'll ask Ma Wenjue to send 2 people to protect you tomorrow. You don't have to worry about trouble in the future." Su Hui said, "Can't you stay here with me? I can when I'm free, but I have to go to class and there are many other things." Su Hui nodded. After a moment of silence, she suddenly raised her head and said shyly, "Is what you just said true?" Qin Haodong asked in surprise, "What did you say?" Su Hui was even more embarrassed. Her white cheeks seemed to be dripping blood, but she still plucked up her courage and said, That sentence, I'm yours?" Qin Haodong's expression froze. He didn't think carefully just now and blurted out those words. He didn't expect that Su Hui would listen to him so carefully. In the face of such an affectionate question, he knew what it meant. If he agreed, it would mean that he had officially accepted Su Hui. But in the face of such a pure and quiet girl, he really hadn't thought about it yet. He had many girlfriends now, but he had carefully thought about each of them before making a decision. The only ones who seemed to be a little rash were Wei Yanran, Han Jiu and Zhao Qinggu. However, the 3 of them were all children of aristocratic families. If they didn't marry Qin Haodong, they couldn't decide their own marriage. Compared with marrying those old, ugly or useless children of aristocratic families, marrying him was definitely the best choice, so they didn't have any psychological burden on this point. But Su Hui was different. She was just an ordinary person. Since she was a child, she had been longing for her own love and hoped to have a Prince Charming. Because of this, he was very cautious when facing Su Hui. Su Hui lowered her head and waited for a long time, but Qin Haodong didn't answer. Her shy expression slowly became cold. Qin Haodong was very embarrassed. He didn't want to make a rash decision, nor did he want to make the girl sad. Just when he didn't know what to do, the cell phone in his pocket rang. "Papa, Grandma asked if you would come back for dinner." The phone call was from the little fellow. Qin Haodong couldn't wait to immediately hold her in his arms and kiss her. His daughter's call was really timely and helped him out of trouble. "Tell Grandma I'm going back now." Qin Haodong hung up the phone, turned around and said to Su Hui, "I'll go back first today. I'll come back tomorrow if I have time." After that, he left the clinic as if he was fleeing. Looking at his back in a hurry, Su Hui's face flashed with a sad look. This was the first time she had fallen in love with a man since she was a child, and she was deeply in love with him. However, Qin Haodong had never clearly expressed his acceptance of her feelings. When they were in Shanghai, he left without saying goodbye. Now she had chased him to the capital, but she still couldn't grasp him. Could it be that the 2 of them were destined not to be together in this life? After leaving the Donghui Clinic of Traditional Chinese Medicine, Qin Haodong was also quite depressed. Love had always been a double-edged sword and both of them might get hurt. He shook his head and tried his best not to think about these worrying things. When they got home, everyone had a lively dinner. After dinner, Lin Momo put on her clothes again. It seemed that she was ready to go out. Qin Haodong asked, "It's already night. Where are you going?" Adding more chapters for Fat Cat Rolling. Chapter 746. Lin Momo sighed and said, "I'm going to shoot a commercial for Lin's jewelry to enhance the influence of the brand. When I was in Shanghai, I made an appointment with a big star, but I haven't done it yet. The reason why I delayed coming to the capital for a few days is because of this commercial." Qin Haodong asked, "Why? Is it troublesome to shoot a commercial? We can just pay for it." "It's not troublesome to shoot a commercial, but the big star is. We made an agreement, but he changed it again and again. He always said that he was too busy and his schedule was too full. It's obvious that he doesn't take our commercial seriously." I just received a call from his agent. He said that he was free at 9 o'clock tonight and made an appointment to shoot the commercial in Movie City. Qin Haodong frowned. He had long heard that some stars liked to play big shots. He used to think that they were far away from him, but he didn't expect to meet them today. It's not safe for you to be alone at night. I'll go with you. Then he got in the car with Lin Momo and rushed to Movie City. With Qin Haodong's company, Lin Momo's heart was full of happiness. Although she was busy with work and had not yet broken through the threshold of the Saint Realm, she was still a level 9 Supreme Power Master. How could she not be safe? The little man just wanted to accompany her. After getting in the car, Qin Haodong said, "Why do we have to use such a big star? We can just change someone else. Anyway, we have to spend money. It doesn't matter who we choose." Lin Momo said, "The idea of our commercial this time is about a swordsman. After a narrow escape from death, he grabs a piece of jewelry from Lin's group and then gives it to his lover. In order to shoot a good commercial, we need a famous star, and Tong Xiaowu is just the right one. If we change someone else, all the slightly famous actors are like to play big shots, which will waste more time. It's better to use the current one. After so many times, I guess there won't be any changes this time. After all, he also likes to make money." Qin Haodong nodded. He also knew Tong Xiaowu because he often watched his fighting scenes in the dormitory. At that time he had not practiced martial arts yet, so he thought that Tong Xiaowu's kung fu was very powerful. Now that he had become a real martial artist, he realized that it was just a fancy trick. The two chatted as they drove to Movie City. Although it was already night time, the whole city was still very lively. Many crew members were working overtime to film here. It was the first time that Qin Haodong had been to such a place. He looked around and saw many stars that he could only see on TV. When they arrived at the set, the studio was already set up. The two of them walked in and saw that the background, curtains, lights and cameras were all ready. Among the crowd, there was a middle-aged man with a cap and a big beard. He was talking to two prop masters. He was wearing a green vest full of pockets. Needless to say, he was the director. He found it very interesting that all the directors were dressed the same way. He did not know if it was because of the rules of the industry or some other reason. "Oh, Miss Lin, you're here?" After seeing Lin Momo, the bearded director immediately came over and greeted them politely. "Haodong, let me introduce you. This is Director Xue and this is my boyfriend Qin Haodong. He is also a major shareholder of Lin's jewelry and my boss." Director Xue's name was Xue Kue. When he heard that Qin Haodong was the boss of Lin's group, he was slightly stunned at first. Then he hurried to shake hands with him and said, "Mr. Qin, you're really young and promising." Qin Haodong greeted him politely and then asked, "Hasn't Tong Xiaowu arrived yet? You should be here soon. There are too many cars in the capital, so he may be a little late." Director Xue was a nice person and did not put on airs at all. He asked his assistant to bring a few stools and poured a cup of coffee for Qin Haodong and Lin Momo. Directors might be very talkative. Xue Kue and Qin Haodong sat together and chatted while waiting. Time passed quickly. In the blink of an eye, more than half an hour had passed. Qin Haodong looked at the time and found that it was already 9:30, half an hour later than the agreed time, but Tong Xiaowu still did not move at all. Qin Haodong could not help frowning. He had pushed back so many schedules and finally decided on a time, but now he was late again. Did this guy really think he was a big shot? As a very shrewd director, Xue Kue noticed Qin Haodong's dissatisfaction. He quickly took the script from his assistant and said, "Mr. Qin, it's your first time here. Let me explain the script to you. If you think something is wrong, please give me some advice." Qin Haodong knew that it was not easy for the director, so he endured it. After explaining the script, another hour passed. He said, "Director Xue, please call them and see when they will arrive." "Okay, Mr. Qin, I'll call them now." As the big boss of the investor, Xue Kue did not dare to offend Qin Haodong. He quickly took out his mobile phone and called Tong Xiaowu's assistant. 2 minutes later, he came back with his mobile phone and said with a smile, "Mr. Qin, please wait a moment." Boss Tong's assistant said that they are stuck in traffic. Qin Haodong was speechless. Although the capital was famous for traffic jams, it was already night. When he and Lin Momo arrived, there was no traffic jam. Now that nearly 2 hours had passed, how could there be a traffic jam? However, seeing Xue Kue's embarrassed expression, Qin Haodong did not say anything since he had already called Tong Xiaowu. He thought that it would be fine after a while. However, after waiting for more than an hour, it was already midnight. They had drunk 4 or 5 cups of coffee, but there was still no response from Tong Xiaowu. Qin Haodong completely lost his patience. He put down the coffee cup in his hand and said to Xue Kue, "Director Xue, please call them again and see what's going on." Shui Kuei also felt that it had been too long, so he took out his mobile phone and called Tong Xiaowu's assistant. As soon as the phone was connected, Qin Haodong took the phone from him and said, "I'm your investor. I'll give you another half an hour. If you don't arrive at the film city within half an hour, I'll terminate the contract." After that, he hung up the phone and gave it back to Shui Kuei. Although Tong Xiaowu was a superstar, Qin Haodong was not used to bad habits. If Tong Xiaowu continued to terminate the contract, he would find someone else at most. Shui Kuei did not expect that this gentle young boss was so hot-tempered. He took back the phone, hesitated for a moment and said, "Mr. Qin, Tong Xiaowu recently signed a new film company. The boss is very powerful. Please don't have any conflict with him when he comes." "Do you know who's behind him?" Qin Haodong was bored waiting, so he asked. He was indeed a little curious. He did not know what kind of background could make Tong Xiaowu so unscrupulous and ignore the investor. Shui Kuei said, "You're making things difficult for me. I'm just a small director and I don't know much about the inside story. I just heard that the new Dongxing Film and Television Company has a strong background." "Oh?" Qin Haodong nodded casually and did not take it seriously. Even the 7 great families in the capital had been defeated by him, so he did not care about the background. The phone call worked. In less than half an hour, a young man in his 30s came in from outside. Before he came to Qin Haodong, the whole studio was filled with a strong smell of alcohol. It was Tong Xiaowu. At this time, he stumbled and did not fall down with the help of his assistant. "I'm just a few minutes late. Do you have to keep calling me? Do you want to die?" Tong Xiaowu vented his anger discontentedly and the smell of alcohol became stronger as he spoke. Shui Kuei quickly said with a smile, "Boss Tong, don't be angry. Let's finish the shooting as soon as possible. You can also go back and have a rest." He should have stopped while he was ahead, but Tong Xiaowu did not buy it. He turned to look at Lin Momo and said, "Girl, you just invested a few dollars. It's not a big deal. I'm just a little late. Why are you rushing me?" Lin Momo's schedule had been postponed several times. When she was finally ready to shoot, this man was drunk again. She said with a cold face, "Mr. Tong, according to the contract, we should have finished shooting a long time ago. You postponed it several times and now you've drunk so much. Can we still shoot the show?" Seeing that Lin Momo did not buy it, Tong Xiaowu immediately lost his temper and shouted angrily, "It's none of your business. I have many friends in the capital. What's wrong with drinking a few glasses of wine?" Seeing that the two sides were getting fiercer and fiercer, Shui Kuei quickly stood up to smooth things over. "You two, peace makes money. Don't quarrel. Since Boss Tong is here, let's hurry up and shoot the advertisement." He was just a small director and it was very difficult for him to be sandwiched between the big stars and the investors. He could not afford to offend either side. Lin Momo said angrily, "Look at him. He's drunk. Can he still shoot the show?" At this time, Tong Xiaowu's head and face were red and he was very drunk. He could not shoot the advertisement. Shui Kuei said, "He can. Please believe me. It's no problem. I'll ask the makeup artist to do a good job. It won't affect the shooting." Seeing that things had come to this, Lin Momo snorted and said nothing. But Tong Xiaowu shouted again, "Hurry up and don't waste my time. I'll only give you half an hour. No matter what, I'm going back to sleep." "What? How can half an hour be enough? It's written in the contract that it's 3 hours. Lin Momo's anger burst out again. Half an hour was not even enough to put on makeup for this guy. "The contract? Is written for you. It's useless to me." Although Tong Xiaowu was drunk, he was still very arrogant. "I'll tell you, I said half an hour and I won't shoot more than that." As he spoke, he staggered forward. At this time, he seemed to see Lin Momo's beautiful face. "Girl, I didn't expect you to be so beautiful. If you agree to sleep with me tonight, I'll shoot for 3 hours. Before he finished speaking, he suddenly felt that his collar was grabbed by someone. Then he flew up and fell to the ground with a bang. Qin Haodong originally wanted to let Lin Momo deal with it, but this guy was so annoying. If he did not teach him a lesson, he would feel sorry for himself. Tong Xiaowu was in a daze. He struggled to get up from the ground and cursed, "Who the hell? Who the hell dares to hit me?" Shui Kuei was stunned. He did not expect that the gentle little boss would hit him so easily. Tong Xiaowu was a fighter, so he was very strong. He weighed at least 70 kilograms. But Qin Haodong seemed to weigh nothing and threw him to the ground casually. "Mr. Qin, calm down. Mr. Dong is just drunk. He's not like this usually." Qin Haodong sneered and said, "Drunk? I'll sober him up if he drinks too much." Add updates for the readers with monthly votes. Chapter 747. Then he stepped forward and kicked Tong Xiaowu in the chest, making him fall to the ground again. Then he grabbed a box of mineral water next to him, unscrewed a bottle, and poured the water into Tong Xiaowu's mouth. Seeing that their boss was being beaten, Tong Xiaowu's two assistants and bodyguards came to their senses and immediately came over to stop Qin Haodong. But they were too weak to stop Qin Haodong. Qin Haodong just waved his hand casually, and the two of them flew out. Tong Xiaowu's agent was standing next to him. She was so shocked that her mouth was wide open. If the camera had not been turned on, she would have thought that it was a special effect. How could a person be so powerful? As a woman, she did not dare to stop him. She took out her mobile phone from her pocket, ran out of the studio in a hurry and called for help. Qin Haodong saw all this, but he did not care. He wanted to see who was behind Tong Xiaowu. He stepped on Tong Xiaowu's chest with one foot and pinched Tong Xiaowu's nose with the other hand. Then he poured the mineral water into his mouth one after another. Poor Tong Xiaowu. Although he was lying in the studio, he felt like he was drowning. His stomach was getting bigger and bigger, as if it would burst at any time. Shui Kuei stamped his feet anxiously, but he did not dare to stop Qin Haodong. After drinking 6 or 7 bottles of mineral water in a row, Qin Haodong grabbed Tong Xiaowu's ankle and lifted him up. He walked to the door, put Tong Xiaowu head first into the trash can, and then kneed Tong Xiaowu in the stomach. Tong Xiaowu spat out all the mineral water and wine in his stomach, and the air was suddenly filled with an unpleasant smell. Seeing that Tong Xiaowu was almost done, Qin Haodong threw him into the studio and said to Shui Kuei, "Now you're sober. Let's start filming." Tong Xiaowu lay on the ground like a dead pig, gasping for breath. He was really sober after the fight just now. After he regained his breath, he jumped up from the ground and shouted, "Boy, how dare you hit me? I'll kill you." After he sobered up, the first thing he wanted to do was to get revenge on Qin Haodong. He had been a star for so many years, but he had never been bullied like this. After that, the guy rushed over aggressively and kicked Qin Haodong in the face. To an ordinary person, this kick was fast and ruthless. Indeed, he did have some foundation in martial arts. A sneer appeared at the corner of Qin Haodong's mouth. This guy might have acted too many fighting scenes and really thought that he was a martial arts master. In front of Qin Haodong, his skills were no different from children's tricks. He waved his hand casually and slapped Tong Xiaowu's chest. Before Tong Xiaowu knew what was going on, he was sent flying again and fell to the ground with a plop. For the advertisement shooting, Qin Haodong controlled his strength very well and did not damage the surrounding facilities. "Your mother." Tong Xiaowu got up from the ground and rushed toward Qin Haodong again. He had been practicing martial arts since he was a child, and his muscles were incomparably sturdy. He did not believe that he would lose to this weak-looking gigolo. But when he was slapped away again, he was completely convinced that he was no match for Qin Haodong. He looked at Qin Haodong with fear in his eyes. Seeing the young man walking toward him again, Tong Xiaowu said nervously, "What are you going to do? Don't come near me." Qin Haodong stood in front of him and said, "I'll give you 2 choices now. The first one is to shoot the advertisement well. The second one is to get out of here, but you have to pay us the liquidated damages according to the contract." Seeing that Qin Haodong did not attack him again, Tong Xiaowu became arrogant again. He pointed at Qin Haodong's nose and shouted, "Boy, you hit me and you still want to pay the liquidated damages? Dream on. Do you know who my boss is? My boss will skin you alive when he comes. Don't think that you're great because you know some martial arts. You're nothing in front of my boss." Qin Haodong's curiosity was aroused by Shui Kuei just now, so he asked with interest, "Then tell me who your boss is. Let's see if he can scare me." Tong Xiaowu shouted arrogantly, "My boss is the famous Dr. Qin Haodong. Even Mei Zhanlong, the #1 practitioner in Hong Kong, was defeated by my boss, not to mention you. Just wait for your death." It was Qin Haodong's turn to be stunned. He could not figure out when he had become this guy's boss. Lin Momo was also stunned. What was going on? When did her man become the boss of a film company? Seeing their shocked expressions, Tong Xiaowu was proud. He thought that he had scared them, so he said again, "What do you think? Are you scared? It's not too late for you to kneel down and apologize to me. Otherwise, when my boss arrives, you won't even have the chance to kneel down." After the shock, Qin Haodong had already guessed the relationship between them. He smiled and said, "Well, I'll wait for your boss. Let's see who won't even have the chance to kneel down." Then he pulled a chair and sat down next to him. Tong Xiaowu shouted fiercely, "Then wait and see. You'll be killed later." Shui Kuei quietly walked up to Qin Haodong, bowed down and whispered, "Mr. Qin, why don't you hide for a while? The boss of Dongxing Company is really powerful. There's no need for you to have a head-on conflict with him, Qin Haodong chuckled. He had never heard of anyone being scared off by himself. He said, Director Xue, don't worry. Maybe their boss is not that terrible. Hearing their conversation, Tong Xiaowu shouted fiercely, You're so naive. Let me tell you, our boss can kill people without batting an eye. He even dared to kill the young master of the Gong family in Hong Kong. Why would he care about you? Qin Haodong was speechless. When did he become a murderous devil? At this moment, there was a flurry of footsteps outside the studio. 7 or 8 people walked into the studio, led by a very beautiful young woman. It was Ouyang Shanshan. After receiving the call, Ouyang Shanshan was also very annoyed. She had established Dongxing Film Company and no one dared to offend her in Hong Kong. She did not expect that such a thing would happen as soon as she arrived in the capital. Miss Ouyang, you're here. After seeing Ouyang Shanshan, Tong Xiaowu immediately went up to her and said, Miss Ouyang, let me tell you, this guy is very arrogant. I think we'd better call the boss here, or we won't be able to deal with him. Ouyang Shanshan came to the capital for another purpose this time. She did not want to disturb Qin Haodong unless she had to. After hearing Tong Xiaowu's words, she looked in the direction of his finger and saw Qin Haodong looking at her with a smile. She quickly put on a cold face and said to Tong Xiaowu, Who do you want to deal with? This guy. I was only a few minutes late, but he dared to hit me. We can't let him go this time or we won't be able to live in the capital in the future. Tong Xiaowu pointed at Qin Haodong and was talking incessantly, but Ouyang Shanshan raised her hand and slapped him hard in the face. Miss Ouyang, why did you hit me? Tong Xiaowu was completely stunned. Since the establishment of the Dongxing Company, Ouyang Shanshan had been the general manager. As an artist, she was very kind to the artists of the company and had never lost her temper like today. You're so stupid. I'll deal with you later. Ouyang Shanshan glared at this guy and quickly walked to Qin Haodong and Lin Momo. Haodong, Sister Momo, why are you here? After greeting them, Qin Haodong said, Shanshan, did you set up the Dongxing Film Company? Ouyang Shanshan said, Yes, I registered the company in your name. You own 100% of the shares. Now you're my boss. Qin Haodong was speechless. It was such a coincidence that his own company asked him to shoot an advertisement. If he had known this would happen, he would not have gone through so much trouble. Ouyang Shanshan asked, Haodong, Sister Momo, what's going on? Lin Momo told them the whole story from beginning to end. Ouyang Shanshan's pretty face suddenly turned cold. She turned around and shouted at Tong Xiaowu, Is that so? Who told you to be so arrogant? As an actress, after she set up the Dongxing Company, she would not bully her artists. Secondly, she asked them to be humble and not be arrogant. But she did not expect that the hateful Tong Xiaowu would be so arrogant to Qin Haodong. Tong Xiaowu was standing next to them. At this time he was about to collapse. When he was sent to Ouyang Shanshan's Dongxing Entertainment Company, he had heard about this extremely powerful boss. It was because of such a boss that he was even more arrogant and unscrupulous. He thought that even if he went too far, the boss would support him. But he had never expected that he would run into the boss when he was acting arrogant in Wuxia. It made him want to die. Boss, I'm really sorry. I didn't know it was you. I didn't know it was your company. I apologize to you now. Please forgive me. Tong Xiaowu ran to Qin Haodong and bowed to apologize like a pug. At this time, although he was nervous, he was not particularly afraid. He was a famous A-list actor. Even a very powerful boss would not fire him casually. After all, no one would say no to money. But this time he was wrong. Qin Haodong gave Ouyang Shanshan 2 billion yuan to open the entertainment company not to make money, but to let Ouyang Shanshan be free from the hidden rules in the industry and be her own boss. That was all. Qin Haodong did not even look at him. He said to Ouyang Shanshan, This kind of person is not suitable to stay in our company at all. Fire him. Ouyang Shanshan would not deny Qin Haodong's words. She said to Tong Xiaowu, Did you hear that? Pack up your things and get out of here. You have nothing to do with the Dongxing Company in the future. Tong Xiaowu was stunned at first. He did not expect that Qin Haodong would really fire him. Now the Dongxing Company was the overlord of the entertainment industry. No other company would dare to take over the artists they fired. Even though he was an A-list star, he was afraid that he would lose his job and be buried in the vast sea of people. Thinking of this, he did not dare to doubt Qin Haodong anymore. He knelt down in front of Qin Haodong and said, Boss, please, I was wrong this time. I won't dare to act arrogantly again. I'll be an honest man and do things down to earth. Please give me another chance. Qin Haodong waved his hand and said to the bodyguards of the daddy security company brought by Ouyang Shanshan, "Throw him out of here." Although they had just met, he had already seen through Tong Xiaowu's nature. Not only was he acting arrogant, but there was also something wrong with his nature. Naturally, he would not give him any chance. Some people were like this. Once they became famous, they would completely forget their nature. Chapter 748. The bodyguards did not hesitate to grab Tong Xiaowu and drag him out of the studio like a dead dog. Ouyang Shanshan said, "Haodong, Sister Momo, what kind of star do you need for the advertisement? I'll find one for you now." Lin Momo briefly explained her idea and requirements. Ouyang Shanshan took out her mobile phone and made a call. After hanging up the phone, she pulled a chair and sat next to Qin Haodong and Lin Momo. She said, "I've already called him. He'll be here soon. He's also an actor of our company. His name is Wuxia and he's also an A-list actor like Tong Xiaowu. But he's very humble and doesn't have the bad temper of those big stars." Lin Momo had also heard of this person's name. He was indeed a popular A-list star. She sighed and said, "Shanshan, you're so capable. There are so many stars in the company." Ouyang Shanshan glanced at Qin Haodong and said, "It's not that I'm capable but that you're famous." Qin Haodong said innocently, "What does it have to do with me? I don't know these people." Since they were all waiting here, Ouyang Shanshan told them about the establishment of the Dongxing Company. It turned out that Qin Haodong killed Gong Tianmiao's son, Gong Tingfei, at the cocktail party of the Chamber of Commerce in Hong Kong, which shocked all the upper-class rich in Hong Kong. Since then, no one dared to do business with the Gong family, and even the previous contracts were all invalid. Since then, the Gong family had plummeted, and Li Meiyu replaced Gong Tianmiao as the president of the Chamber of Commerce. Because of Qin Haodong's deterrence, after Ouyang Shanshan established the Dongxing Entertainment Company, other entertainment companies came to flatter her and sent their A-list entertainment stars as gifts. As a result, the Dongxing Entertainment Company was just established, but it had many stars. After the introduction, Ouyang Shanshan looked at Qin Haodong and said, "Now you know that these people are all here for your fame. It's because of your awesome boss that Tong Xiaowu dares to be so unscrupulous." Qin Haodong smiled helplessly. It seemed that he had brought too much deterrence to those rich people in Hong Kong. At this time, Wuxia rushed to the studio. When he entered and saw Ouyang Shanshan, he said respectfully, "Boss, are you looking for me?" "I'm not the one looking for you. It's the big boss." Ouyang Shanshan introduced him to Qin Haodong. "This is the big boss of our company, Mr. Qin Haodong." "Hello, boss." Wuxia did not expect the legendary boss to be right in front of him. He hurriedly went forward and greeted him respectfully. Qin Haodong nodded and asked Lin Momo to tell him what had happened. Wuxia was overjoyed to hear that he was going to shoot an advertisement for the boss. This was an opportunity that others could not get even if they begged for it. After the shooting was done, Qin Haodong handed everything over to director Shui Kuei and walked out of the studio with Lin Momo and Ouyang Shanshan. After going out, he said, "Shanshan, why didn't you tell me you were in the capital?" Ouyang Shanshan said, "I've been preparing for a concert these days. It's my farewell performance. I wanted to give you a surprise after the concert was ready. I didn't expect this to happen tonight." Qin Haodong said in surprise, "What? You're leaving the music industry? What a pity." Lin Momo also said, "Shanshan, you don't know how many fans you have. If you quit the music industry like this, many people will be sad." Ouyang Shanshan smiled and said sadly, "I know that, but that's not the life I want now." She used to be very eager to be a star and take singing as her lifelong pursuit. But now she had changed. As a woman, she was eager to find her own love. "Forget it. I've made my decision. Let's not talk about it." She took out 2 VIP tickets from her pocket and gave them to Qin Haodong. "These are the tickets for tomorrow night. You and Sister Momo must come." Qin Haodong took the tickets and said, "Okay, I'll be there." Ouyang Shanshan said goodbye to them and went back under the escort of bodyguards. She still had a lot to prepare for tomorrow's concert. Lin Momo took another look at the studio. Both Shui Kuei and Wuxia were working very seriously, so she didn't stay there to supervise them. She got in the car with Qin Haodong and rushed to the Tang sect. After getting in the car, Qin Haodong handed the 2 tickets in his hand to Lin Momo and said while driving, "Come with me tomorrow night." Lin Momo said, "I won't go." "What? Don't you like her songs very much? It's a farewell concert. If you don't listen this time, you may not have a chance in the future." Lin Momo said with a smile, "The farewell concert is for others. They can't hear it in the future, but I can listen to the live concert at any time." "What do you mean?" Qin Haodong asked in surprise. What else can I mean? Can't you see Sister Shanshan's feelings for you? I have a hunch that sooner or later she will become one of us. Then she can listen to whatever she wants at home. Why do you have to go to the concert and squeeze with those people? Also, I can tell that this concert was specially prepared for you, so I won't go and blindly interfere. Qin Haodong was speechless. From the bottom of his heart, he hadn't figured out how to deal with his relationship with Ouyang Shanshan. He didn't want to delay her acting career because of him. Before Lin Momo finished speaking, she began to look at the 2 VIP tickets in her hand and suddenly shouted, "Hey! Haodong, look at these tickets. They're so strange. Isn't it just a ticket? What's the fuss about?" Qin Haodong slowed down the car, took a ticket and looked at it. Suddenly he was stunned. Generally speaking, the concert tickets were printed with close-up photos of the singers themselves, but Ouyang Shanshan's ticket did not have that. The overall style of the ticket was very simple. It was printed with a little monk in hemp shoes and cloth clothes sitting cross-legged on the ground. Behind him stood a slim girl, which looked indescribable. In the corner of the ticket there were 2 words printed, "Blossom." No wonder Lin Momo was surprised. The ticket was indeed a bit strange and he couldn't see the purpose of it. He said, "It's really strange. Why is there a little monk on the concert ticket? What does it mean? Is Shanshan going to become a monk? Even if she becomes a monk, she will be a nun. She can't be a monk." After having the idea that Ouyang Shanshan was going to escape, Qin Haodong couldn't help but feel nervous, as if he was about to lose something important. Lin Momo said, "Don't guess blindly. I'm afraid only Sister Shanshan knows the meaning of this ticket." Qin Haodong nodded. "It should be like this. There must be some other meaning of this ticket." The next day he first visited Mu Baisin and treated him with rejuvenative acupuncture. Then he went to Su Hui's traditional Chinese medicine clinic to help. After dinner he went to the capital stadium to watch Ouyang Shanshan's concert. He also had a special hunch that this concert should be related to his relationship with Ouyang Shanshan, so he didn't call other girls and came to the scene alone. Ouyang Shanshan had a super popularity in Wuxia, and this was her farewell concert. Therefore the whole venue was full, and the ticket price was several times higher than before. As Qin Haodong walked towards the entrance, he suddenly saw a 17 or 18-year-old girl next to him crying sadly. He walked over and asked, "Little sister, what's wrong with you?" The girl cried and said, "I'm a fan of Ouyang Shanshan. Today is her last concert, but I didn't buy a ticket. I may never see her sing again in the future." It seemed that what Lin Momo said was true. Ouyang Shanshan's retirement would indeed make many fans sad, but he couldn't help with this kind of thing. The only thing he could do was to give the extra ticket to the girl in front of him. "Take it. Hurry up and go in." He gave the ticket in his hand to the girl. When the girl saw the ticket in his hand, she immediately stopped crying. She jumped up in surprise and said, "Big brother, it's a VIP ticket for the concert. How much do you want to sell it to me?" Although she was very eager to go to the concert, she didn't have much money in her pocket. She couldn't even afford the high-priced ticket in the hands of the scalpers, let alone the VIP ticket. "It's free. It's for you." "What? Free?" The girl opened her mouth in surprise. She knew the price of the concert very well. This VIP ticket must be at least 5 figures. "Big brother, you don't want to hit on me, do you?" Qin Haodong glanced at the little girl. Although she was beautiful, she could only be regarded as cute compared with his excellent girlfriends. "Little sister, you think too much. If you don't want it, I'll take it back." No, this ticket is already mine." The little girl quickly held the ticket in her hand tightly. It seemed that if Qin Haodong wanted to take it back, she would fight with him. Qin Haodong smiled and turned to walk into the stadium. He took the ticket and found his seat, which was the center of the front row. It could be said to be the best seat in the audience. Sitting here he could see everything on the stage. Not long after he sat down, the little girl ran over with a large bag of drinks and popcorn. "Big brother, you invited me to the concert and I'll treat you to popcorn," the little girl said as she put the snack bag in her hand between the two of them. Then she grabbed a handful of popcorn and ate it happily. Qin Haodong also ate a few. It tasted good, but it was not good for his health. The little girl said while eating, "Big brother, do you have a girlfriend? If not, I can consider taking you as my boyfriend." Qin Haodong looked at her and smiled. "How can I not have a girlfriend when I'm so handsome? You have no chance." Seeing that she was rejected, the little girl pouted cutely. "Even if you have a girlfriend, so what? Can she be more beautiful than Ouyang Shanshan?" Qin Haodong said, "Almost, at least not worse than Ouyang Shanshan." "You're bragging. Ouyang Shanshan is the most beautiful woman in the world. No one can be more beautiful than her. Even I am much worse than Shanshan. Speaking of this, the little girl said with a look of longing, if any man can marry Ouyang Shanshan, I guess his ancestors for 18 generations must be monks and Taoists, chanting Buddha and cultivating every day. Otherwise he wouldn't have such good luck. Qin Haodong said with a smile, how can monks and Taoists have descendants? The little girl's expression froze and then she said, don't worry so much. Anyway, if he can marry Ouyang Shanshan, his ancestors must be blessed. Qin Haodong smiled. With such a lovely little girl sitting next to him, he was not lonely. Soon it was time for the concert to begin. In the deafening cheers, Ouyang Shanshan walked to the stage slowly and officially began her singing. Chapter 749. Just like before, her voice was still as beautiful as ever. Soon the entire venue fell into a state of intoxication. After the improvement of the physique-improving pill, Ouyang Shanshan's body was much better than that of other singers, so she did not show any fatigue after singing more than a dozen songs in a row. Qin Haodong watched quietly from below the stage. The beauty was as beautiful as jade and her voice was beautiful. But he still couldn't understand why there was a little monk printed on the ticket, and what was the connection between it and the concert. Unknowingly, the concert had come to an end. Ouyang Shanshan went off the stage to change clothes, and the host went to the front stage. Dear singers, the next song will be the last song sung by Miss Ouyang Shanshan. Please listen carefully. Hearing that it would be the last song, the fans present had extremely complicated emotions, and some even shed tears silently. The little girl next to her cried with snot and tears, I don't know what Sister Shanshan is thinking. Why did she quit the music industry? Does she not want us anymore? Qin Haodong really didn't understand the thoughts of these fans, so he comforted her, in fact, you don't have to be so sad. Everyone has their own choice of life. Maybe Shanshan has found a way of life she likes more. Hearing this, the little girl immediately stopped crying, blinked her big watery eyes, looked at him and said, do you think it's possible that Sister Shanshan has found the guy who is emitting smoke from the ancestral grave and wants to get married and have children with him, so she doesn't want us anymore? Qin Haodong hesitated for a moment and said, maybe. At this moment, the lights on the stage quickly dimmed, and then the voiceover sounded. Once upon a time, there was a little monk living in the temple, and a princess living next to the temple. They were not far from each other. One day her father took the princess to the temple to worship Buddha, and she met the little monk who liked to knock on the wooden fish. Later the princess often went to the temple to play with the little monk, and they became childhood friends. They grew up together and were innocent. Seeing the story being told on the stage of the concert, everyone was a little confused. However, everyone could tell that the voice came from Ouyang Shanshan's mouth, so no one raised any questions and no one made any noise. They all listened quietly. Qin Haodong's heart skipped a beat. The little monk was mentioned in the story. Was it related to the little monk on the ticket? At this moment, the voiceover continued telling the story. The young princess often told the little monk stories. The little monk knocked on the wooden fish for the princess to listen to. The princess knew that the little monk liked to eat sugar-coated haws, so she brought him one every day. The princess knew that she had fallen in love with the little monk. Every day she would go to a faraway shop to buy the little monk's favorite candied haws. Unknowingly they had spent 6 years together. The little monk's cultivation level was getting higher and higher, and the young princess was getting more and more slender and elegant. The little monk became a big monk, and the princess reached the marriageable age. Suddenly one day the princess's father came looking for the abbot with a serious expression. That day the princess did not have the usual smile on her face, nor did she bring the candied haws with her. Seeing the little monk, the princess pulled his sleeve and asked, "Do you like me?" The little monk knocked on the wooden fish silently and did not answer. Later, the princess was taken away by her father and left the temple. Before leaving, she shouted to the little monk, "I like you." But the little monk still sat there blankly, and the only response was the sound of the wooden fish. And this "I like you" was the last thing the princess said to the little monk. The hall with tens of thousands of people was still silent. Some people even felt the emotion in the story, and their hearts were filled with inexplicable sadness. Since the princess left, she never came to the temple again. The little monk thought that she was very happy and kept knocking on the wooden fish every day. Until one day the little monk suddenly heard the bad news that the princess was dead. She was wearing a red wedding dress and died on the night of her wedding. The cause of her death was that a prince forced the princess to marry him. The princess refused, so the prince forcibly destroyed the princess's chastity. In the end, the princess resisted with her life. The little monk was heartbroken. He picked up the long sword and said to the Buddha in front of him, "Since the Buddha didn't save her, I'll avenge her even if I have to become a devil." The next day, the little monk found the prince who forced the princess to die and pierced his throat with his sword. But so what if he had taken revenge? The dead could not be resurrected. From then on, the little monk died of depression in the temple. That sentence, "I like you," it will become his lifelong regret. The story ended here. Although some people knew that this was the story behind a recently popular song, Ouyang Shanshan's emotional narration still made them burst into tears. The little girl next to Qin Haodong burst into tears and murmured, "It's so touching. That monk is so stupid. Why didn't he take the princess away earlier?" This story was touching, but it also aroused everyone's curiosity. What was the purpose of Ouyang Shanshan telling this story? Do you want to sing this song? Sure enough, the music started. The last song Ouyang Shanshan sang was the famous online song, "Save Me Not Save Her." In the past, her voice was known for being sweet and melodious, but now this song is full of desolation and sadness, making people feel extremely sad. The wind is still blowing. Messed up whose youth he grew his hair long. Put away the wooden fish. She no longer exists under the Bodhi tree, spent several more summers. I still popular? She is no more. The morning bell is ringing a few times. Not saving the flowers in the world. I also look down and smile. I don't see your long hair anymore. Ask Buddha with a smile. Save millions of people. Why don't you save her? This song was originally very sad and moving. Now with Ouyang Shanshan's performance, it was played to the extreme. After the song was finished, the eyes of all the audience in the stadium were wet with tears. At this moment, the audience fell into silence. The spotlight shone on Ouyang Shanshan's face, and her delicate face was covered with crystal tears. She held the microphone and said emotionally, "The reason why the little monk can't forgive himself is that this was a tragedy that could have been prevented, but it happened. The two people who loved each other couldn't be together because of the little monk's avoidance. In the end, they were separated by life and death. The little monk would rather give up his persistence and faith and become a devil to avenge the princess. Can be seen how much he loved the princess. But why don't you dare to face your love? Do you have to wait until the day I die to face my feelings?" This time there was an uproar in the silent venue. The sad atmosphere had been driven away by the shock. Everyone understood that Ouyang Shanshan was going to confess to the person she liked. No wonder she spent so much time and effort to carefully plan this song. Oh my god, Ouyang Shanshan has someone she likes. Why didn't I know? My Shanshan is going to say goodbye to the music industry for that person? It's so hateful. What kind of man is he? He made my Shanshan take the initiative to confess. Can't he take the initiative? Although there were still tears on the little girl's face, her expression became excited. She hit Qin Haodong's shoulder and said angrily, "Who do you think won the heart of my goddess? This guy is so hateful. He didn't take the initiative to confess. If I knew who he was, I would cut him up." At this time, Ouyang Shanshan continued on the stage, "If there are flowers to be plucked, you should pluck them. Don't wait until there are no flowers. The reason why I named today's concert Blooming Flowers is that I want the love between us to bloom like flowers. Now I just want to ask, do you want to protect me for the rest of your life, or do you want to wait until you lose me and become a devil?" After these words, the crowd, which had just calmed down a little, became excited again. Oh my god, this lucky guy is actually here. Who is he? It can't be me. Is the goddess confessing to me? Dream on. How can you be worthy of our Shanshan with that naughty look of yours? The little girl grasped Qin Haodong's arm tightly. It seemed that she was talking to herself or asking him, "Who do you think is the bastard who burned incense for 18 generations and made his ancestors smoke?" It's me. I'm the bastard who burned incense for his ancestors. Qin Haodong smiled at the little girl, then gently pushed her hand away and stepped toward the stage. He had never thought about how to deal with the relationship between him and Ouyang Shanshan. But today the girl had done so much for him in public and he could no longer remain silent. The song just now also made him understand that it was better to grasp the present than to lose it and become a devil. Ouyang Shanshan stood on the stage. Because of the light, she couldn't see what was happening below the stage. She could only secretly guess in her heart what the man's reaction would be after hearing her confession. But after waiting for a long time, there was still no movement below the stage. As time went by, her heart became colder and colder. Although she was under the gaze of tens of thousands of people, she felt extremely lonely. Could it be that he really didn't love her and was really indifferent to her confession? Just as she was getting more and more desperate, suddenly a clear voice rang in her ear, You don't need to be saved by the gods and Buddhas. I'll protect you for the rest of your life. These short words made Ouyang Shanshan's tears rush out like a flood bursting a dam. Her heart was filled with great happiness in an instant. He's here, he's really here. He loves me and he'll protect me for the rest of my life. Although it was a stadium with 70,000 to 80,000 people, the oath of love just now was clearly heard by everyone. That man is here. The man Shanshan is looking for has really appeared. Who the hell is he? Who can make Shanshan fall in love with him so much? When everyone came to their senses and looked at the stage together, they could only see a resolute figure holding Ouyang Shanshan's hand and walking backstage together. Ouyang Shanshan had many fans. Qin Haodong didn't want to become a public enemy because of her. Naturally, he wouldn't expose himself to everyone's eyes, so he chose to take her off the stage in this way. It wasn't until his figure disappeared that the little girl who had just sat next to him came to her senses. My God, no wonder he has 2 VIP tickets in his hand. It turns out that he is Sister Shanshan's boyfriend. The stinky guy, how dare he hide so much from me? Sooner or later I'll get even with him. The little girl was so angry that she stamped her feet, but she suddenly realized that she hadn't even asked his name. Where could she find him? Qin Haodong took Ouyang Shanshan to a lounge backstage. They were still hugging each other and their eyes were looking at each other. Haodong, is what you just said true? Will you really protect me for the rest of my life? Of course it's true, as long as you don't leave me. No, you're the person I love the most. I'll never leave you. Ouyang Shanshan said excitedly and offered her lips. The two kissed fiercely. After a long time they slowly separated. Qin Haodong said, "You go back with me tonight." I heard this song by chance and felt that I liked it very much. It was very suitable for the current writing situation, so I added such a plot. This chapter is not pretentious or face-slapping. It is a pure description of a relationship. I don't know if you like it. Chapter 750. Ouyang Shanshan said shyly, "Not tonight. This is my concert. Although it's over, there are still many follow-up matters to deal with. How about tomorrow? I'll see you tomorrow?" Well, pay attention to rest and don't tire yourself out. Qin Haodong knew that he couldn't help much even if he stayed. He kissed Ouyang Shanshan's red lips gently and left the venue. As he drove, he hummed the song that Ouyang Shanshan had just sung. Thinking of his reincarnation, he couldn't help thanking God for giving him a chance to be reborn. After today's concert, his mood had changed a lot. He didn't want to make any girl sad and he didn't want to leave any regrets. It was already midnight and there were fewer pedestrians on the road. The Tang sect was located in the suburbs, far from the stadium, and he had to pass a remote road on the way. He was driving on the road when he suddenly saw a champagne-colored BMW 7 Series parked on the side of the road in front of him. The door was open but there was no one in the car. At the same time there was a faint cry for help. The sound was far away from here. It came from a dense forest on the side of the road. If it weren't for his excellent senses, he wouldn't have heard the cry for help. It was a woman who was shouting for help. She was screaming miserably, and then her mouth seemed to be blocked by something. He parked the car on the side of the road. Since he had met her, it was fate. Naturally, he couldn't just stand by and do nothing. In the woods, a young and beautiful woman was tied up like a dumpling with a rope. Her mouth was stuffed with a towel, and her eyes were full of fear. Opposite her stood 2 wretched men. One was thin and tall and the other was short and fat. At this time there was a lewd look on their faces. They both had obscene smiles on their faces. The short and fat man said, "Brother, I didn't expect to meet such a terrible woman. Which of us will do it first?" The thin and tall man first gave a harsh lewd laugh. Then he said, "We are brothers. Of course we will do it together." After saying that, the two of them unbuttoned their clothes and walked toward the woman. The woman let out a whimper and struggled desperately like a helpless little sheep. "This little girl is so beautiful. I've lived for half my life, but I've never seen such a beautiful woman. It's worth it to have sex with her once." As the short and fat man spoke, he reached out to grab the woman's chest. Right at this moment, a furious shout sounded out, "Since you want to die, then die." The short and fat man was startled and pulled out a dagger from his waist. He looked back and saw a handsome young man standing behind them. The lanky man took out a switchblade from his pocket. Seeing that Qin Haodong was alone, Saber shouted fiercely, "Mind your own business or I'll stab you to death." Seeing that Qin Haodong looked gentle and not strong, and that the 2 people on his side were holding weapons in their hands and had an absolute advantage, the chunky man also relaxed. He laughed and said, "Kid, do you also want a share of the spoils? Don't worry, we'll let you have some fun after we're done." But before he could finish, he suddenly felt a sharp pain in his lower abdomen. Then he flew out and hit a big tree behind him. When he fell to the ground, the dagger was stuck in his chest. The short and fat man twitched a few times and then stopped moving. He was as dead as he could be. The lanky man was completely scared. He didn't expect that Qin Haodong was so good that he killed his companion with one kick. Seeing this ghost-like young man walking towards him again, he could no longer care about the woman beside him. He turned around and ran, but before he could run 2 steps he fell to the ground with a plop, and the spring in his hand fell to the ground. The knife in his hand had just pierced his throat. After killing these 2 people, Qin Haodong walked to the woman, reached out to pull the towel out of her mouth, and then pulled the rope on her body. "How are you? Are you all right?" The woman gasped after being released, and the panic on her face dissipated a little. She stood up from the ground and looked at Qin Haodong gratefully, saying, "Little brother, thank you so much. If it weren't for you, I would have been ruined today." The woman's voice was soft and sweet, and her voice was very pleasant, with a touch of charm. Qin Haodong looked at her. The woman was about 27 or 28 years old. Her face was delicate and beautiful, and she had a unique temperament. Her figure was tall and voluptuous, with curves all over her body. She was wearing a long white dress that was already torn to shreds, faintly revealing her snow-white skin. As long as a normal man saw it, his heart would be moved. It was no wonder that those 2 fellows had evil intentions. "It doesn't matter. I'm just passing by. Since there's nothing else, I'll go back." Qin Haodong said, "Sister, it's so late. You'd better go now or you'll be in trouble if you meet bad guys again." After that, he turned around and was about to leave. "No!" The woman screamed in horror. She suddenly rushed up and hugged his arm. The exaggerated curve of her chest was tightly pressed against his arm. Due to the violent squeezing, the shape of her chest changed dramatically. "Don't go. Don't go. I'm afraid to be alone," the woman said as she looked at the 2 bodies on the ground. Her face was pale and bloodless. "Well, let's go together." Qin Haodong also felt that he was a little thoughtless. This was just an ordinary woman. It would be strange if she was not afraid to face 2 bodies in the middle of the night. However, he still pushed the woman away a little, and then they walked to the side of the road. They came to the street light, which was much better than in the dark woods. Qin Haodong pointed to the BMW and asked, "Is that your car?" Under the light, the woman's expression was much better. She said, "It's my car." Qin Haodong said, "It's all right now. You can drive home by yourself." "No, you can't go. I'm afraid to be alone," the woman said as she rushed up to Qin Haodong again and held his arm tightly. Under the light, the woman's appearance looked more enchanting. Her frightened expression made people want to pity her. Qin Haodong secretly sighed. She was really a natural stunner, as if she had a kind of innate charm. He said, "It's all right now. What's there to be afraid of when you drive back?" The woman said nervously, No, I just had an accident while driving." Then she told the story of how she had just been tied up. It turned out that when she was driving past here, a black shadow suddenly flashed in front of her. She hurriedly stepped on the brake, but she still bumped into the man. Seeing that she had bumped into someone, she hurriedly got out of the car to check. She didn't expect that the other party was a blackmailer. Even so, she accepted it. She originally thought that it would be fine to pay some money, but she didn't expect that the fat man called a tall and thin man came over. The 2 men saw her and tied her up and pulled her into the bushes. They wanted to do something bad to her. Fortunately, she met Qin Haodong later, otherwise the consequences would be unimaginable. "Little brother, please let me take your car. As long as you send me home, you can ask for as much money as you want." Qin Haodong nodded. It was normal for a woman to be afraid in such a big thing. "You don't have to pay. I can send you back, but what about your car?" "It doesn't matter. I'll lock it and leave it here. I'll pick it up tomorrow during the day." The woman went to lock the car and hurriedly ran back to Qin Haodong. It seemed that she was afraid to leave her here alone. After getting in the car and asking for the direction of the woman's home, Qin Haodong drove forward. After leaving here, the woman breathed a sigh of relief and got rid of the fear just now. "Little brother, thank you so much for saving me. My name is Shiyumi. What's your name?" "My name is Qin Haodong." The woman nodded and said, "Oh, little brother, those 2 people are dead. Will they be okay? If the police find you, I can testify for you." "It doesn't matter. I'll find someone to deal with it." Qin Haodong took out his mobile phone and called Hu Shaoxian, asking her to ask someone from the Xinyuan pavilion to deal with the bodies. After he hung up the phone, Shiyumi asked, "Little brother, are you a policeman?" "I'm not a policeman. I'm a doctor." Qin Haodong didn't want the woman to ask too many questions, so he changed the topic and said, "Sister, it's dangerous for you to come out alone so late." Shiyumi said, "I went to deliver goods tonight and came back a little late. I didn't expect to encounter such a thing. Anyway, you're a girl. You should be more careful at night. Why don't you ask your boyfriend to accompany you?" Shiyumi said, "I want to, but I don't have a boyfriend." Qin Haodong was quite surprised. Such a beautiful woman should have a lot of pursuers. How could she not have a boyfriend? "What about your family? Why didn't you ask them to accompany you?" Shiyumi said, "I'm an orphan. I have no family. I've been alone since I was a child." As she spoke, a sad look appeared on her face. She looked both lovely and pitiful. Qin Haodong only glanced at her out of the corner of his eye, and he had an impulse to hold her in his arms and cherish her. He couldn't help but quickly look away and concentrate on driving. This woman's charm was too strong. The woman lived in a luxury apartment, which was not far from here. They had arrived downstairs while they were talking. Qin Haodong said, "Sister, since we're already home, I won't send you up." Shiyumi said pitifully, "Little Qin, it's already the middle of the night. I'm really scared to be alone. Can you send me up?" "All right then, I'll be a good person to the end. I'll help you to the end." Qin Haodong parked the car and followed Shiyumi upstairs. When they arrived at her home, Shiyumi took out the key and opened the door. After pouring a glass of water, she said, "Little Qin, sit down and have a glass of water. I'll go change my clothes." Her long dress had been torn and she really couldn't wear it anymore. After saying that to Qin Haodong, she went into the bedroom. Qin Haodong was indeed a little thirsty. He picked up the glass of water and carefully checked it. He was immune to all kinds of poisons, but he had no resistance to aphrodisiac, which could stimulate the human body's potential. He had suffered twice, so he had developed a habit of vigilance. After checking it with the original spirit and confirming that there was no problem with the glass of water, he raised his head and drank it. At this time, Shiyumi changed her clothes and came out. She was not wearing a formal suit, but a blue spaghetti nightdress. The nightgown wasn't long, and it revealed her jade-like skin and sexy collarbones. The hem of the dress revealed 2 white thighs, which looked extremely alluring under the light. Qin Haodong said, "Sister, you're home safely. The task is completed. I have to go." "Little Qin, why don't you stay here tonight?" Seeing Qin Haodong's shocked eyes, Shiyumi hurriedly explained, "I don't mean anything else. It's just that it's too late. It's not safe for you to go back alone. I have 2 bedrooms and a living room. There's also a guest room. You can stay there." Chapter 751. "No, I'm a man. There's nothing to be afraid of." After saying that, Qin Haodong turned around and walked out of the door, striding downstairs. Although Shiyumi was very beautiful and charming, he only regarded her as a passerby in his long life and did not want to have any contact with her anymore. The next day at breakfast, Qin Haodong told everyone about Ouyang Shanshan. Lin Momo said with a smile, "I told you. There's no need to go to a concert. From now on, Shanshan will be one of us. She can listen to any song she wants at any time." The little fellow also shouted excitedly, "That's great. I like the big star Ouyang Shanshan the most. She will be my mother in the future." Chi Weiner also said, "I've always been a fan of Ouyang Shanshan. I couldn't even get an autograph before, but now I can sleep in the same bed with her." Hu Shaoxian said with a smile, "Sister Weiner, you may be thinking too much. Shanshan will definitely not want to sleep in the same bed with you." After she said that, everyone burst into laughter. Hearing that there was another big star's daughter-in-law, Chu Shenyue said excitedly, "Son, since you have confirmed your relationship, when will you bring Shanshan to live with us?" Qin Haodong said, "Shanshan said that she would come over after dealing with things today. It should be soon." Zhang Tinya hurried in and said, "Boss, there's a woman outside the door. She wants to see you." Chu Shenyue said, "Maybe it's Shanshan. Let her in quickly." Zhang Tinya turned around and walked out. After a while he came in with a woman. This woman was wearing a white shirt and a pair of jeans. Her hair was combed into 2 braids. This somewhat outdated style of dressing exuded a fashionable aura on this woman. The little fellow stood up and shouted, "Auntie, you're so beautiful." Only then did everyone realize that the person who came was not Ouyang Shanshan. Qin Haodong was slightly stunned. This woman was Shiyumi, whom he had saved last night. He didn't expect that she would come again this morning. He was about to speak when he saw Yi Qing greet him excitedly, "Great designer, I didn't expect you to come to our house. Welcome." Seeing Yi Qing, Shiyumi was also a little surprised. She said, "Miss Yi, I didn't expect you to live here. Yi Qing said, "What? Isn't the great designer here for me? I didn't know Miss Yi lived here." Shiyumi glanced at Qin Haodong and said, "I'm here to see Mr. Qin." Yi Qing pulled Qin Haodong over and said, "Didn't you hear that the designer was looking for you? Hurry up and come over." Qin Haodong asked, "Sister, do you know Shiyumi?" "Of course, Miss Shiyumi is the big boss of Liusu Clothing and also the chief designer. I'm a regular customer of theirs." "Oh?" Qin Haodong nodded. No wonder this woman gave people a fashionable feeling. It turned out that she was a fashion designer. He said, "Sister Shi, what can I do for you?" "It's nothing much. It's just that I couldn't fall asleep after you left yesterday, so I made you a set of clothes as thanks," Shiyumi said as she handed over a bag in her hand. After she finished speaking, all the women in the living room widened their eyes. Yi Qing was even more surprised and said, "Brat, didn't you say you went to the concert last night? Why did you go to Miss Shiyumi's house?" "I did go to the concert." Qin Haodong hurriedly told her what had happened when he met Shiyumi. Shiyumi then said, "Mr. Qin saved me. I have nothing to thank him for, so I made him a suit." After figuring out the situation, Yi Qing said, "I see. Then let's see the great designer's work." Then she took the bag from Shiyumi's hand and opened it. She took out a black suit from it. Qin Haodong said, "Miss Shiyumi, in fact, you don't have to be so polite. Besides, you don't know my size. Will the suit you make fit me?" Before Shiyumi could speak, Yi Qing said, "Brat, you don't know this. Shiyumi is the top fashion designer in Wuxia. No matter who it is, as long as she takes a look at it, the size will be the same. It's not that exaggerated." Shiyumi said, "I'm just guessing the size. Try it on and see if it fits. If it doesn't, I'll take it back and change it." Yi Qing directly took off Qin Haodong's pajamas and put on the white shirt brought by Shiyumi, followed by the black suit. It didn't take long for Qin Haodong to put on the suit. "Papa is so handsome." The little fellow was the first to applaud, and the other women also exclaimed. This suit was perfect for Qin Haodong. Not only did it fit him, but it also set off his perfect figure, making him look more handsome. Qin Haodong also secretly admired her. He didn't expect that this woman could calculate the size so accurately after taking a look at him. Every profession had its own master. "Miss Shiyumi, thank you." He didn't stand on ceremony and accepted the suit. "That's good." Shiyumi said, "Miss Yi, Mr. Qin, I'll go back first." Qin Haodong and Yi Qing walked Shiyumi out of the door. When they came back, Qin Haodong said, "Sister, how do you know Shiyumi? Is her clothing store very famous?" "It's more than famous. It's simply too famous." When it came to Shiyumi's Liusu Clothing, Yi Qing's eyes lit up and she said, "In fact, very few rich people buy those brands. Basically, they find special designers to tailor their clothes for them. Liusu Clothing is the top in the clothing custom-made industry. It's no exaggeration to say that more than half of the rich people in the capital have their clothes custom-made from them." Qin Haodong looked at his clothes and said, "Oh, I see. I have to say that her craftsmanship is really good. This dress is quite comfortable." Of course. Shiyumi is the owner of Liusu Clothing and also the top fashion designer. She has won awards at the Paris Fashion Festival many times. "Do you think the clothes she makes are bad?" Qin Haodong said, "Is she so good? Then this set of clothes must be more expensive than the famous brands, right?" Yi Qing said, "The fashion designers of Liusu Clothing are divided into 3 levels. The most popular one is a 1-star fashion designer, who is responsible for making clothes for ordinary rich people. Generally, the price of the clothes they make is more than 5 figures. The number of 2-star fashion designers is much smaller, and their level is higher. The clothes they make are more than 6 figures. As the boss, Shiyumi is the only 3-star designer of Liusu Clothing. The design fee of a dress she makes is 7 figures. If she chooses the materials herself to make it, it will cost at least millions of yuan. Even so, the clothes she designed are still in short supply. Many rich people have to wait in line for more than half a year to get a dress designed by Shiyumi. Let me put it this way. Shiyumi's status in the clothing industry is no worse than your status in the medical industry. Are you exaggerating?" Qin Haodong said as he looked at his clothes again. This was equivalent to wearing a luxury car. Yi Qing continued, "You can wear the clothes designed by Shiyumi not only because you have money, but also because of your status. There are many rich people in the capital, but only a few of them can wear the clothes made by Shiyumi. I waited in line for half a year before I had a dress made by her. She was the one who took the design plan and other designers made it. Even so, this dress is still my collection. I only wear it when I attend a big event." Qin Haodong smiled. He didn't expect that his dress was not only valuable but also of a high status. Brother, since you have a relationship with Shiyumi, you should talk to her and ask her to make more dresses for me. If you can marry her and treat her as your sister-in-law, that would be the best. Our family won't have to worry about clothes in the future. Yi Qing just said it casually, but her eyes suddenly lit up. Boy, why don't you give it a try? Shiyumi is really single now. Qin Haodong said with a wry smile. Sister, you can't ask me to chase after her for a dress, can you? If one day you like another female chef's dishes, do you think I'll marry her? Yi Qing reached out and pinched his waist. What's wrong? Shiyumi is a one-in-a-million beauty. You seem to feel aggrieved. Qin Haodong said, it's not a matter of beauty. It's a matter of principle. Yi Qing glared at him and said, as if you are very principled. Then what's the matter with our beautiful women? Qin Haodong didn't know what to say. He looked embarrassed. Fortunately, the cell phone in his pocket rang at this time. He quickly took out his cell phone and ran aside to answer the call. Yi Qing didn't wait for him and went back alone. The call was from Su Hui. After the call was connected, she said, Haodong, where are you? Why didn't you come today? She was a little nervous as she spoke. She was really afraid that Qin Haodong would ignore her after what had happened yesterday. I was delayed by something here. I'll be there now. After last night's concert, Qin Haodong's concept of love had changed a little. He didn't want to let down the people who loved him, including the girl who had gone to the capital for him. He hung up the phone and drove directly to the Donghui Clinic of Traditional Chinese Medicine. At first, he thought that Su Hui called him because there were too many patients and she was too busy. However, when he arrived, he found a sign hanging on the door saying that the clinic was closed. What's wrong, Su Hui? Is something wrong? No, I just have something to do today, so I'm closed. Su Hui looked up and was immediately stunned when she saw Qin Haodong. What's wrong? Don't you recognize me? Qin Haodong was secretly amused. It seemed that it was true that Buddha needed gold and people needed clothes. He was really handsome in a luxury car. Su Hui came to her senses and said with a little shyness, No, I just feel that you are a little different today. What's different? Have I become more handsome? Yes? Su Hui nodded with a complicated expression. The man in front of her was becoming more and more charming, which made her more and more unable to extricate herself. However, he didn't accept her feelings. Qin Haodong smiled and said, What's the matter? Do you need my help? Su Hui said, Last night when I was closing the door, I met a junior high school classmate. He has been working hard in the capital for many years. He said that today is a classmates' party in the capital and invited me to attend. I don't think it's good to refuse, so I decided to go and have a look. Qin Haodong took over the topic and said, But your classmate has always liked you and even pursued you. You think it's not convenient, so you want me to go with you, right? Yes. Su Hui nodded and said in a low voice, I want you to pretend to be my boyfriend so that they won't pester me. Qin Haodong said with a smile, It seems that there are many people pursuing you. Chapter 752. Su Hui said shyly, Not too many. There are a few people at the party. Qin Haodong was not surprised by this. It would be strange if no one pursued a beauty like Su Hui. What do you think? Can you go with me? I don't agree. Qin Haodong refused directly. Su Hui's eyes flashed with sadness and even a trace of despair. She had done so much, but in the end she still couldn't win this man's heart. He didn't even agree to pretend to be her boyfriend. But at this moment, Qin Haodong reached out and grabbed her shoulder. He stared into her eyes and said, If you want to do it for real. Su Hui was instantly stunned. She couldn't believe her ears. Was he really going to accept her? What are you talking about? Can you say it again? Qin Haodong said with a smile, Are you willing to be my girlfriend? At this moment, Su Hui's heart was filled with great happiness. Tears of happiness immediately flowed down her white cheeks. Qin Haodong raised his hand to wipe away her tears and said, Why are you crying? Don't you want to be my girlfriend? I do. Su Hui nodded hurriedly and then plunged into Qin Haodong's arms. She had waited for this day for a long time. Today happiness finally came. They hugged each other for a long time and Su Hui said softly, Is this true? I'm not dreaming, am I? Qin Haodong cupped her cheek and kissed her delicate red lips hard. Then he said, Do you feel it? Are you dreaming? Haodong, I feel it. It's true. It's not a dream. I'm so happy. Woo. Before Su Hui could finish her words, her mouth was blocked by Qin Haodong again. An hour later, Su Hui, who had dressed up carefully, took Qin Haodong's arm. They appeared downstairs of the Taotai restaurant together. Looking at the magnificent restaurant in front of him, Qin Haodong felt a little funny. Su Hui's classmates had set the venue of the party in his own property. However, this wasn't too bad either. The more he earned, the better. He walked into the restaurant with Su Hui. After taking over the Taotai restaurant and the Heaven Earth Trading Building, the experienced Uncle Wang asked the people in charge of the two restaurants to go to the Tang sect to meet Qin Haodong. However, the middle-level and lower-level employees didn't know that the young man in front of them was their boss. The two of them went upstairs and arrived at a platinum VIP room on the 8th floor. The private room was very big and could accommodate about 20 people. There were already more than 10 people sitting inside, both men and women who were chatting in full swing. Seeing Su Hui enter the door, a man in a suit with a flat-top haircut immediately came up to her. He was Zhang Tong, who had invited Su Hui to the class reunion. When they were in middle school, Zhang Tong had been pursuing Su Hui, but there was no result. After graduating from junior high school, he followed his family to the capital and had made some achievements in the business world over the years. After meeting her by chance yesterday, he was immediately stunned by Su Hui's beauty, so he tried his best to invite her to attend today's class reunion. Of course, he had his own purpose behind the invitation. "Students, look, our great beauty Su is here," he said and greeted her enthusiastically, but then his face immediately darkened when he saw Qin Haodong next to her. Su Hui said, "Let me introduce you. This is my boyfriend Qin Haodong." "Su Hui, why did you bring your boyfriend here?" Su Hui said, "What's wrong? Can't I bring my boyfriend to the party today? If not, we'll go back." If these classmates really didn't accept Qin Haodong, she would leave without hesitation. They had just gotten together, and she didn't want their relationship to be affected by the pursuit of these boring classmates. "Welcome, of course." Zhang Tong smiled awkwardly and then let the two of them into the private room. Seeing the handsome Qin Haodong, a look of jealousy flashed across the faces of several other male classmates, while several other female classmates immediately screamed, "Hui Hui, your boyfriend is so handsome. No wonder you have rejected so many people over the years. It turns out that there is such a handsome man waiting for you." Seeing these infatuated female classmates, the faces of Zhang Tong and the two male classmates next to him became more and more gloomy. The other two male classmates were called Zhao Pu and Jin Haiyang. The three of them had pursued Su Hui in middle school, but at this time they formed an alliance in an instant. The three of them looked at each other and felt that they couldn't let this toy boy steal their limelight. They had to find a way to suppress his arrogance. Zhang Tong took the lead and said, "Students, we haven't seen each other for so many years. It's not easy for us to get together today. I don't know what you are doing. I suggest that we introduce ourselves and get to know each other. If we can be useful in the future, we can help each other. After all, we have been classmates for many years." Zhao Pu immediately said, "That's a good idea. Let's start with you." Zhang Tong said, "My family has been in the capital for some years. Now we are in the medical equipment business. Su Hui, if your clinic needs anything, just tell me. All kinds of equipment will be provided free of charge. Of course, I also have many friends in the capital over the years. If you have difficulties in other industries, you can also turn to me. For example, the general manager of the Taotai Hotel today is my friend. If I didn't have some connections, I wouldn't have been able to book a platinum private room here." "Yes. Good, Zhang Tong has been doing a good job these years. He can be regarded as a respected figure in the capital." Zhao Pu clapped a few times symbolically and then said, "I can't compare with a big boss like Zhang Tong. I have been in the entertainment industry for the past few years. Now I am working in the finance department of the Dongxing Entertainment Company." Jin Haiyang said, "You have a lot of big stars in the entertainment industry, right?" Zhao Pu said proudly, "Of course. There are a lot of stars that you can't see at all. For example, Ouyang Shanshan, the big star who held a concert yesterday. She is the boss of our Dongxing Entertainment Company. You can see her at work every day, not to mention other stars." "Awesome. That's awesome," Zhang Tong said and gave him a thumbs up. "Ouyang Shanshan is a superstar in our country. If you follow her, maybe you will become a star one day." "You flatter me, flatter me." Zhao Pu said to Jin Haiyang next to him, "It's your turn. Tell me, what have you been busy with these years?" Jin Haiyang said, "I'm also busy. I haven't made much progress in these years. I'm a supplier for the Heaven Earth Trading Building," he said modestly, but there was an unconcealable pride on his face. Zhang Tong said, "I've been in the capital for so many years, and I know the Heaven Earth Trading Building. It's the largest shopping mall in the capital. You must be powerful to be a supplier there. You must have made a lot of money over the years. Jin Haiyang waved his hand and said proudly, "It's nothing. It's only tens of millions of yuan a year. It's just a small business to make a living." "Tens of millions and you say you can make a living? How are you going to let us live?" Zhao Pu looked at Su Hui as he spoke, thinking that this little girl should be touched after hearing about his brother's achievements. But to his disappointment, Su Hui didn't even look at them. Except when someone talked to her, she had been looking at Qin Haodong next to her with affection. He couldn't help secretly making up his mind. He would seize the opportunity to mock this toy boy later. The self-introduction continued, and soon it was Su Hui's turn. "I just opened a traditional Chinese medicine clinic in the capital and I'm a doctor there." "Great, great." After Su Hui finished speaking, Zhang Tong immediately applauded. "Hui's grandfather is a professor at my medical college. I believe that Hui's medical skills are not bad. She will definitely become a famous doctor in the future." After that he looked at Qin Haodong and said, "Brother, you look extraordinary. Where do you work?" Qin Haodong smiled and said, "I'm not your classmate. Forget it." Zhao Pu said, "That's not okay. We're finally sitting together today. Even if you and Su Hui separate in the future, we'll still be friends. If you're in trouble just let us know. We'll definitely help you." Jin Haiyang also said, "Yes, we've all introduced ourselves. Are you afraid that they'll want to flatter you?" Although he said so, his eyes were full of contempt. Qin Haodong said lightly, "Then let me introduce myself. I'm Qin Haodong. I don't have a job now. I'm helping Su Hui's clinic." After he finished speaking, Zhang Tong and the others immediately laughed contemptuously. They had been busy for a long time, waiting for this moment. Zhao Pu immediately seized the opportunity and said, "Brother, you're young and promising. It's definitely not something ordinary people can do to help Su Hui. Excuse me, are you helping to clean up? Or are you helping to serve tea?" Just now they had belittled Qin Haodong by showing off, but now their words had become naked ridicule. Qin Haodong clearly saw through the mentality of these people in front of him. He knew that they were obviously envious of him, but he just smiled and did not take it to heart. He didn't care, but Su Hui couldn't. She couldn't allow the person she liked to be insulted. "What are you talking about? Haodong is just being modest. His medical skills are very high, hundreds of times better than mine." Her words were completely from the bottom of her heart, but in the ears of Zhang Tong and the others, she was completely protecting Qin Haodong. They knew that Su Hui's medical skills were inherited from old master Su Hongba, but Qin Haodong was so young. How could he have such high medical skills? However, seeing that Su Hui was angry, they immediately adjusted their strategy and changed it to a long-term plan to catch a big fish. Zhang Tong said, Hui, don't worry. We're just joking with Brother Qin. Don't take it seriously." Zhao Pu also quickly said, Yes, I'm just joking. Don't take it seriously." After that, the other students also chatted for a while to ease the awkward atmosphere. After a while, Jin Haiyang looked at Zhang Tong's suit and said, "Your suit is good. How much did it cost?" Seeing the look in Jin Haiyang's eyes, Zhang Tong immediately understood his intention. Just now they saw that there was no logo on Qin Haodong's suit, so they thought that it was a cheap product. They wanted to make a fuss in this regard and show off. Zhang Tong pulled his collar and said, "My suit is not too expensive. It's more than 50,000 yuan from Armani." Jin Haiyang said, "The quality of Armani's clothes is good. More than 50,000 yuan is not expensive. My Prada casual suit is more than 60,000 yuan." Zhao Pu also understood their intention. He pretended to be surprised and said, "You are all rich. A suit of clothes is so expensive. My suit is cheaper. It's more than 40,000 yuan from Versace." Hearing that their clothes were so expensive, other students from ordinary families sighed with emotion. A female classmate next to Su Hui said, "I didn't expect that we would all become rich after not seeing each other for a few years. I have to work for a year to earn this suit of clothes." Another classmate followed and said, "Yes, a suit of clothes costs 50,000 to 60,000 yuan. It's equivalent to wearing a small pickup truck." Jin Haiyang said proudly, "It's nothing. It's just a little money." Chapter 753. Seeing that it was about time, Zhang Tong looked at Qin Haodong and said, "Brother Qin, your suit looks good. How much is it? Where did you buy it? What brand is it? Can you introduce it to us?" Qin Haodong smiled. These people were really blind. Couldn't they see the quality and workmanship of his suit? They even wanted to compete with him in clothes. Weren't they looking for trouble? In fact, he didn't understand what Zhang Tong and the others were thinking. For small bosses like them, the most important thing was the brand of the clothes. They had never touched the level of handmade clothes at all. Although the quality and style of the suit made by Shiyumi were top-notch, they naturally didn't take it seriously because they didn't see the brand of the clothes. Although he thought so in his heart, he didn't want to compare with these people. It was too boring. He smiled and said, "I didn't buy this suit. It was a gift from someone. It's handmade and there's no brand." Zhang Tong immediately laughed and said, "It's handmade. Now there are not many people who make clothes by hand." Zhao Pu said, "I thought Brother Qin bought this suit from a street stall. I was wrong. Even if it's from a street stall, it should have a brand." Jin Haiyang said, "Brother Qin, it's a little disrespectful to wear this kind of handmade clothes to a classmate party. In the future you should talk to Hui Hui and ask her to buy you a few sets of clothes with brands. You'll look good in them." These people's words were full of sarcasm. In the end, Jin Haiyang went even further and directly concluded that Qin Haodong was a toy boy raised by Su Hui. You've gone too far." Su Hui was so angry that her face turned red and she was about to lose her temper. Qin Haodong patted her thigh and motioned for her not to be angry. At this moment, the door of the private room opened and a little girl with glasses ran in. "Sorry I'm late." The little girl was also Su Hui's classmate. Her name was Su Jiejia. "You're not late. You're a great designer. It's normal for you to be a little late because you're busy with work." Zhang Tong said as he let Su Jiejia in and then introduced her. "Let me tell you, Jiejia is now a great designer in Liusu clothing." A female classmate said in surprise, "Jiejia, it's true. The clothes in Liusu clothing are very expensive. Any set costs tens of thousands of yuan." Zhang Tong, who was very familiar with Su Jiejia's family situation, rushed to say, "Of course, the clothing design of Liusu clothing is the most fashionable in Wuxia. Jiejia is now a big designer, and her future is limitless." Su Jiejia smiled and said, "It's not that exaggerated. I'm still a one-star designer." Jin Haiyang said, "Jiejia, you are too modest. As long as you can enter the threshold of Liusu clothing, it is a success. Your monthly salary is at least 5 figures now, right?" Su Jiejia nodded. "It's all right. Jiejia, you're being modest again. We're all classmates. What's there to be embarrassed about?" Zhang Tongji took over Su Jiejia's bragging. Jiejia's monthly salary is 70,000 to 80,000 yuan. If she becomes a 2-star designer, her monthly salary will be hundreds of thousands. Su Jiejia said, "The treatment of Liusu clothing is really good, but it's too difficult to become a 2-star designer. After all, the people who can enter our company are very outstanding. Now the competition is very fierce." Speaking of this, she sighed slightly. Recently, she had been competing with several other designers for the promotion of a 2-star designer, but now it seemed that the hope was very slim. "Jiejia, you are already very great now." Zhao Pu took the lead in applauding. They had a purpose for praising Su Jiejia. At this time, Zhang Tong said, "Great designer, Brother Qin said that his clothes are also handmade, and they are probably worth a lot of money. Can you help me check them?" Su Jiejia had been surrounded by everyone since she entered the door. At this time she saw Qin Haodong opposite her. She couldn't help but say in surprise, "Is he also our classmate? When did we have such a handsome classmate in our class?" Hearing her classmate praising the person she liked, a charming smile bloomed on her originally tense face. "Jiejia, let me introduce him to you. This is my boyfriend Qin Haodong. Hui Hui, you are getting more and more beautiful and your boyfriend is really handsome." Su Jiejia suddenly stopped and stared at Qin Haodong with a dull look. After a while, she came to her senses and stood up from her seat. She walked to Qin Haodong's side and reached out to touch the black suit he was wearing. Her expression was as if she was touching a rare treasure. The female students opposite her were all shocked by her performance. What was going on? Was Su Jiejia crazy and fell in love with this toy boy? Zhang Tong said, "Jiejia, did you see it clearly? You're not scared by this suit, are you? Is the workmanship too rough and the price too low? If that's the case, we can donate some money to buy him a set of branded clothes." "Shut up." Su Jiejia, who had been smiling since she entered the door, now stopped Zhang Tong with a stern look. "What do you know, you bumpkin? This is a suit made by Shiyumi, the big boss of Liusu clothing and the chief designer." Zhang Tong was shocked. He didn't care about being called a bumpkin and said in shock, "Jiejia, how is this possible? Are you sure you're not mistaken? It's a masterpiece made by our boss. How could I be mistaken?" Su Jiejia turned around and said to Qin Haodong, "Mr. Qin, can I have a look at your suit?" Qin Haodong knew that it was impossible to keep a low profile now, so he nodded slightly. Su Jiejie reached out to roll up his cuff and saw 3 gold stars embroidered on his wrist. She immediately confirmed her guess just now. She raised her head and said to everyone, "In our Liusu clothing, if it's designed by a 1-star designer, there will be a silver star embroidered on the cuff. If it's made by a 1-star designer, there will be a gold star embroidered on it. In the same way, if it's made by a 2-star designer, there will be 2 gold stars embroidered on the cuff, and Mr. Qin's suit has 3 gold stars. And the only 3-star designer in our Liusu clothing is our boss, Miss Shiyumi. There's no doubt that this suit was made by our boss herself." After hearing her introduction, another classmate said in surprise, "The clothes of Liusu clothing are so expensive. The boss made it herself, so the price must be very high. Is it worth more than 100,000 yuan? More than 100,000 yuan? Su Jiejie chuckled. It was really poverty that limited one's imagination. Our boss, Miss Shiyumi, is the top designer in Wuxia, and she can even rank in the top 10 in the world. She often wins the first prize in major fashion fairs. The design fee of the clothes she designs is more than 7 figures, and our boss rarely makes clothes herself. The price of the clothes she makes is at least millions. Oh my god, a piece of clothing costs millions? It's really extravagant. Just now they said that their clothes are like pickup trucks, but this is a super luxurious sports car. It's really incomparable. It's true that there's no harm without comparison. Zhang Tong's clothes just now look awesome, but compared with this one it's trash?" Su Jiejie seemed to want to continue. She continued, "Even an ordinary rich man can't make our boss do it in person with tens of millions of yuan. So to be able to wear the clothes made by our boss is not just a matter of money, but a symbol of status." Zhang Tong, Zhao Pu and Jin Haiyang were completely dumbfounded. They wanted to find a piece of tofu and kill themselves. They had never expected that Qin Haodong's clothes without any logo would have such a powerful background. One of the sleeves could buy a whole set of their clothes. If they had known this, they would not have competed with Qin Haodong on clothes. Wouldn't they be looking for trouble? After Su Jiejie finished speaking, she turned to Su Hui and said, "Hui, you're so lucky to have such an excellent boyfriend like Mr. Qin." Since they entered the door, Zhang Tong and the others had been trying to make fun of Qin Haodong, which made Su Hui very angry. Now Su Jiejie helped her vent her anger, and she immediately felt as refreshed as eating ice cream in the hottest days of summer. "It's nothing, Jiejie. You can find a better boyfriend in the future." Su Jiejie hesitated for a moment, and then said to Qin Haodong, "Mr. Qin, can you do me a favor?" Qin Haodong also had a good impression of this little girl with glasses. He said, "If there's anything you need, just tell me. As long as it's within my power, I can do it." Su Jiejie said with some embarrassment, "Recently our company is taking the 2-star designer examination, and the quota is very tight. Can you help me put in a word with the boss?" She was a very smart girl. Since Shiyumi could make the clothes herself, the relationship between the two of them must be unusual. Zhang Tong and the others immediately widened their eyes. They hoped that Su Jiejie had made a mistake. They hoped that the clothes were not made by Shiyumi, and they didn't want Qin Haodong to have anything to do with Liusu clothing. But they were disappointed. Qin Haodong smiled and said, "No problem. I'm happy to help anyone who is close to Su Hui." Being promoted to a 2nd-level designer was a big deal for Su Jiejie, but Qin Haodong didn't take it seriously at all. He directly took out his mobile phone and dialed Shiyumi's number. Shiyumi's pleasant voice immediately came from the other side of the phone. "Haodong, why did you call me so soon? Is there anything wrong with the clothes?" Unconsciously, she directly changed Qin Haodong's name to Haodong, which was more intimate. "No, the clothes are very good. They fit me very well." Qin Haodong said, "Here's the thing, sister. I have a friend working in your company. Her name is Su Jiejie. If it's convenient, please take care of her for me." Shiyumi said softly, "Don't say that. The company belongs to me. It's not convenient. Since she's your friend, I naturally have to take care of her." "Well, we're evaluating 2-star designers recently, so I'll let her be promoted directly." "Well, I'll thank you on behalf of Jiejie, sister." After that, Qin Haodong hung up and put away his mobile phone. The private room was very quiet when he was on the phone just now. Several people nearby heard the conversation between Qin Haodong and Su Jiejie clearly. Su Jiejie's face was full of excitement. It should be noted that there was a huge difference between a 2-star designer and a 1-star designer in Liusu clothing. Being promoted from a 1-star designer to a 2-star designer could be said to be a meteoric rise. Not only would their salary increase several times, but their status would also be greatly improved. Originally, she had no hope of being promoted this time. She didn't expect to meet Qin Haodong at a class reunion. He solved the problem that had troubled her for a long time with just a phone call. "Mr. Qin, thank you. Thank you so much." She was so excited that she didn't know what to say. Su Hui said, "Jia, you're too polite. We're all classmates. It's only right for me to help you." Zhang Tong had organized this class reunion, but he didn't expect that the spotlight would be stolen by this toy boy in the blink of an eye. He immediately said sourly, "Jia, don't be too naive. There are many liars nowadays. Who knows if it's true or not? Maybe the person on the other side of the phone isn't your boss at all." This chapter is for the big boss, fat cat rolling around. Chapter 754. Su Hui said angrily, "Zhang Tong, what nonsense are you talking about?" Zhao Pu said, Hui, I think what Zhang Tong said is very reasonable. There are really many liars in society now. You better be careful. Don't be cheated by others." Jin Haiyang also said, "I also think so. Isn't this kind of clothes without any marks just 3 golden stars? I can print a lot of them for hundreds of yuan." Su Jia said with a cold face, "What do you mean? Could it be that I misjudged him?" Zhang Tong said, "Jia, you're just a designer, not an appraiser. It's normal for you to make a mistake." In fact, the three of them knew very well that this set of clothes was real, but it would make them lose face. Now they could only try their best to say that it was fake. Su Jia was about to say something when her cell phone rang. She took it out and saw that it was a call from the company's administrative department. Although she hadn't answered the phone yet, she seemed to have guessed something and pressed the speakerphone button excitedly. "Jia, the boss just called and said that he would directly promote you to a 2-star designer. Congratulations. Submit all your materials to our administrative department tomorrow morning and we'll handle the relevant procedures for you immediately." Silence. The entire private room was so silent that one could hear the sound of breathing. Everyone looked at Zhang Tong and the others with eyes full of ridicule. After expressing her gratitude, Su Jia hung up the phone and looked back at the 3 people who were dumbfounded. "What else do you have to say this time?" Zhang Tong reacted very quickly. He quickly put on a fake smile and said, "It's a class reunion. It's rare for us to get together, so I made a little joke to liven up the atmosphere. Since they're already here, I'll ask the kitchen to serve the dishes now." The dishes were served very quickly in Taotai restaurant. A few minutes later, the table was filled with delicious food that looked, smelled, and tasted good. In the general manager's office of the hotel, Li Xiuquan was sitting behind his desk, smoking and watching the big screen in front of him. As the general manager of the hotel, he was a very shrewd person. He knew what to do and what not to do and how to make the boss more satisfied. Usually, he had a little trick at work, which was to keep an eye on the video surveillance during peak hours. Once there were distinguished guests, he would immediately serve them well. As long as these distinguished guests were satisfied, the reputation of the hotel would naturally be improved, and the boss would also be very satisfied with his work. Especially with the change of a new boss recently, he had not figured out the boss's temperament, so he was even more careful when working. He was staring at the monitor when a man and a woman suddenly appeared on the big screen. When he saw the man's face clearly, he was so shocked that the cigarette in his hand fell to the ground, almost burning his pants. "Boss." In order to make sure that he was not mistaken, he quickly paused and zoomed in. Qin Haodong's face appeared clearly on the big screen. That's right, this is the boss. The boss didn't even give him a call. What did this mean? Did he want to observe his work in private and see how he performed? No, I have to find out which room the boss went to. I have to go there and perform well. This is a big matter that concerns my job. Thinking of this, Li Xiuquan kept retrieving the surveillance video and finally confirmed that Qin Haodong had gone to the platinum private room. Then he stood up and hurried out. In the private room, Zhang Tong adjusted his mood. He had to get back the face that he had just lost. He reached out to grab a bottle of red wine, opened it and said, "Students, it's rare for us to get together, so I specially booked this kind of red wine from a French winery from the hotel. This is an authentic Bordeaux red wine, which costs 30,000 yuan a bottle. Today don't have any psychological burden. Just drink as much as you want. It's on me. Don't compete with me to pay the bill." After pouring a glass of wine for everyone, he began to show off and said, "Students, it's really not easy to book a private room in the Taotai Hotel today. If it weren't for the fact that I'm a buddy of the hotel manager, it would have been impossible." Jin Haiyang followed and said, "I know that very well. The Taotai Hotel is the most popular hotel in the capital. Those who come here to eat are either rich or noble. Ordinary people can't book a room at all. Last time a client wanted to invite me to dinner. He made a reservation here a week in advance, but he didn't even get a private room. In the end he could only book a table. It can be seen that you really have a lot of influence here, brother. Zhang Tong glanced at Qin Haodong and Su Hui and said proudly, "Of course, Manager Li of the hotel and I are sworn brothers. If I call him, he will come over immediately to toast us." Su Jiejie said, "Really? Our company has also had a dinner here, but we've never seen what the general manager looks like. Why don't you call him over and let us all have a look?" "Well, no problem. I'll call him now." Zhang Tong was just bragging. In fact, he just knew Li Xiuquan, and their relationship was not as good as he said. But now that Su Jiejie was serious, he couldn't lose face in public. He could only bite the bullet and take out his mobile phone. He walked to a corner and dialed Li Xiuquan's number. "Manager Li? I'm Zhang Tong. I'm having a meal in your hotel. Do you have time to come over and have a drink with us?" Li Xiuquan had just come out of his office. He was in a hurry to see his big boss, so he had no time to pay attention to a nobody like Zhang Tong. But as the general manager of the hotel, he was very tactful. He said, "Oh, brother Zhang, I'm really sorry. I have something to do outside. When I go back later, I'll definitely come to your place for a drink." After that, he hung up the phone directly and walked straight to the private room where Qin Haodong was. Zhang Tong hung up the phone and returned to the table. Su Jiejie asked, "How was it? When will Manager Li come over?" Zhang Tong smiled embarrassedly and said, "Unfortunately, Manager Li just went out, but he said he would come back as soon as possible." Speaking of this, his expression suddenly froze. He saw that there were already 3 empty wine bottles in front of Qin Haodong. In order to keep up appearances, he asked for 5 bottles of this kind of red wine in total. He thought that Qin Haodong would not be able to drink it, so he would return the rest. But he didn't expect that in such a short time, 3 bottles had already been drunk by this man. Moreover, Qin Haodong's face didn't change at all, as if he didn't drink at all. His drinking capacity was too scary, wasn't it? But he couldn't care less now. A bottle of wine cost 30,000 yuan, so 3 bottles of wine would cost 90,000 yuan. "You. Why did you drink all my wine?" Qin Haodong reached out and picked up the last bottle. "Mr. Zhang, don't tell me that you won't let me drink enough when you treat me?" After that, he raised his head and drank up the bottle in the blink of an eye. "Damn it, 30,000 yuan is gone again. If I had known that such a drunkard would come, I wouldn't have ordered such expensive red wine." Zhang Tong was anxious and annoyed. At this moment, the door opened and Li Xiuquan came in from the outside with a respectful face. He was stunned at first, and then he went over and said, "Dude, didn't you say it? It turns out that you were joking with me. I see. You must want to give me a surprise, right?" As he spoke, he wanted to go over and give Li Xiuquan a hug to show the deep relationship between them. But Li Xiuquan didn't even look at him and went straight to the dining table. Zhang Tong was stunned and opened his arms. He didn't know what Li Xiuquan was doing. He came to his private room and ignored him. Could it be that there were other acquaintances here? That was impossible. As the general manager of the Taotai Hotel, he was usually very powerful. The people here were all his classmates and there were no big shots. How could he know anyone else except him? He turned around and was surprised to see Li Xiuquan coming to Qin Haodong with a flattering face. He bowed and said, "Boss, you're here. Why didn't you tell me? I could have sent a car to pick you up. How can this kind of ordinary platinum private room match up to your status? The best supreme diamond private room in our hotel has been reserved for you. If you need it, I'll ask someone to open it now." Qin Haodong originally wanted to keep a low profile, but Li Xiuquan took the initiative to come to him. He didn't say anything and said, "Forget it, let's stay here. The room is a little smaller and it will be more lively for everyone." Dumbfounded. All the people in the private room were in this state and they were all dumbfounded. Just now, Zhang Tong had bragged for a long time about how high the Taotai restaurant was. It was already very great for him to book a private room, but Qin Haodong turned out to be the boss of the restaurant. This kind of gap was like the distance from the basement to the top of the sky. Zhang Tong, Zhao Pu and Jin Haiyang were completely dumbfounded. They had always thought that Qin Haodong was just a toy boy with no ability, but in the blink of an eye, he had become the boss of the Taotai restaurant. This kind of identity made them have no courage to compete with him. Qin Haodong said to Li Xiuquan, "Today is my girlfriend's classmate's party. Later we'll waive the bill for this table." Sure. Li Xiuquan said respectfully, I'll ask the kitchen to serve the hotel's best signature dish right away. This kind of wine is a little low-grade and doesn't deserve the boss's identity at all. The hotel also has some treasured 1982 edition Lafite. I'll ask someone to send it here right away. Qin Haodong waved his hand and said, "That's it. Hurry up and arrange it." "Okay, boss. If you need anything else, just let me know." After saying that, Li Xiuquan turned around and left the private room. He didn't look at Zhang Tong from beginning to end. Everyone could see that the general manager of the hotel didn't go out at all. It was just that Zhang Tong couldn't curry favor with him, and they were not sworn brothers as he said. This was the gap between them. Everyone could see clearly that the person Zhang Tong was trying to curry favor with was just one of Qin Haodong's men. The French red wine he had just shown off was not good enough in Qin Haodong's eyes, but now it was replaced by 1982 Lafite. He said that he would pay for this table of dinner, but Qin Haodong just said that it was all free. Zhang Tong stood there with a pale face. He was so regretful now. If he had known that this toy boy was the boss of the Taotai restaurant, he would not have set the venue of the party here. But at this time, everyone's attention was on Qin Haodong, and no one looked at him at all. A female classmate next to Su Hui said with a face full of infatuation, "Hui Hui, you're so lucky. Your boyfriend is handsome and rich. If only my future boyfriend is 1/10 as good as Mr. Qin." Su Jiejie said enviously, "Hui Hui, no wonder Mr. Qin is a friend of our boss. It turns out that he is such a person." Su Hui took Qin Haodong's arm and said with a happy face, "You're right. It's my luck to find Haodong." At this time, waiters came in one after another, replaced all the dishes on the table, and then brought up 6 bottles of 1982 Lafite. Seeing this situation, Zhang Tong's expression became more and more embarrassed. Compared with Qin Haodong, he was too inferior. Add updates for readers with monthly tickets. Only the monthly tickets of Zongheng are valid. Chapter 755. After all the dishes and wine were served, the party officially began. Everyone began to eat and drink. "This dish is delicious. It deserves to be the signature dish here. It tastes so good. This wine is also good. It's worthy of being a 1982 Lafite. It tastes much better than the wine just now. It's all thanks to Su Hui. Otherwise, we wouldn't be able to eat such good dishes and drink such good wine." Listening to the discussions around him, Zhang Tong couldn't bear to eat any more. He put down his chopsticks and looked at Zhao Pu and Jin Haiyang bitterly. Originally, he wanted to humiliate Qin Haodong, destroy his impression in Su Hui's heart, and then create a chance for himself to pursue her. Unexpectedly, he failed to humiliate Qin Haodong. On the contrary, he was humiliated by Qin Haodong. Now he had used up all his trump cards and completely lost the hope of pursuing Su Hui. He could only hope that these two people could save him some face. Zhao Pu also saw the situation in front of him clearly. It was impossible to compete with the rich. Qin Haodong was the boss of this hotel. How could he compete with him? It seemed that he could only change his method and suppress this toy boy. He cleared his throat and said, "Students, I've prepared gifts for you all. Ouyang Shanshan's autographed photos are one for each of you." He knew very well that his classmates liked Ouyang Shanshan very much. Her autographed photos were more useful than anything else. He had prepared these photos a long time ago. He didn't take them out just now because he wanted to use them as a trump card. Now was the time. Sure enough, when they heard that there were Ouyang Shanshan's autographed photos, everyone's attention immediately shifted from the food in front of them. "Zhao Pu, is it true? Do you really have Ouyang Shanshan's autographed photos?" "Ouyang Shanshan's autographed photos are sold for thousands of yuan on Taobao. That's great. The girl I likes Ouyang Shanshan the most. With this photo I can pursue her." Zhao Pu looked proud and took out a stack of photos from his backpack. "Students, the boss knows that I'm coming to the class reunion, so he specially gave me his autograph. Don't worry, everyone has one." After that, he began to distribute photos to the students present one by one. But when he sent them to Qin Haodong, he spread out his hands and said with a sinister smile, "Boss Qin, I'm sorry. There are no more photos for you." After saying that, he, Jin Haiyang and the others all laughed. "So what if you are a big boss? After all, you can't compare to the charm of a big star." Qin Haodong smiled and said, "It doesn't matter. I don't need it." Jin Haiyang said, "Boss Qin, are you going to tell us that you don't follow stars? I can believe that he doesn't chase after celebrities, but I don't believe that he doesn't like Ouyang Shanshan. If any man doesn't like Ouyang Shanshan, I can guarantee that it's a lie. Otherwise, there must be something wrong with him." Zhang Tong swept away his depression and said, I heard that there is an old saying that the grapes are sour when you can't eat them. Some things can't be bought with money. Qin Haodong didn't want to argue. He just smiled. His cell phone rang. It was Ouyang Shanshan. Haodong, I've arrived at the Taotai restaurant. Which room are you in? Before coming here, Qin Haodong had called Ouyang Shanshan and told her to come here to find him after she finished her business. She happened to come here at this time. After reporting his room number, he hung up the phone and said to the people sitting at the table, I have a friend coming over. Everyone please vacate a seat. Now that he was the boss, everyone naturally responded to his words. The students moved to both sides and emptied a chair next to Qin Haodong. Jin Haiyang said discontentedly, Boss Qin, although you are the host here, today is our class reunion. You are Hui's boyfriend, so we don't have to say anything. But if you ask an outsider to come, isn't it inappropriate? Su Jiejie said, Jin Haiyang, what are you talking about? Haodong is Hui's boyfriend. How can he be an outsider? Zhao Pu also said, yes, I think Haiyang is right. How about this? You can get another room next door. Anyway, it's your place. You can eat there. You won't disturb us and we won't disturb you. Qin Haodong looked at Zhao Pu with a smile and said, I can leave, but if I leave here I can't pay for it. Do you think it's better for us to go Dutch or do you want to pay? Zhao Pu was completely dumbfounded. Although his salary was not low, it was only 20,000 or 30,000 yuan a month. However, this table of dishes was very expensive. The 1982 Lafite would cost him a year's salary. How could he afford it? Even if everyone went Dutch, it would cost about 100,000 yuan for each person. If he really proposed it, he would definitely cause public anger. Not to mention him, even Jin Haiyang and Zhang Tong, who were rich, shut their mouths. Although they had some money, they couldn't spend it in this way. Seeing that everyone was silent, Qin Haodong smiled again and said, I know that today is a class reunion, but my friend has a special identity. I believe that you will definitely welcome her with both hands raised. Jin Haiyang curled his lips and said, how is that possible? Do you think your friend is Ouyang Shanshan? How can she be so charming? As he spoke, the door behind him opened. The waiter opened the door and a beautiful figure appeared in front of everyone. At this moment, everyone was dumbfounded. It was Ouyang Shanshan. It was really Ouyang Shanshan. Sorry to disturb you. Ouyang Shanshan smiled politely, then walked to Qin Haodong's side and sat down. She leaned against his arm and said intimately, sorry, I'm a little late. Qin Haodong smiled and said, you're not late. You're just in time. At this time, the shocked students all came back to their senses. With a loud bang, they immediately surrounded them. The autographed photos that Zhao Pu had just taken out were thrown aside. Ouyang Shanshan was right in front of them, so no one cared about the autographed photos. Shanshan, can you take a picture with me? Shanshan, can you record a short video with me? Superstar, please sign your name on my clothes. Everyone gathered around Ouyang Shanshan, jumping for joy. One after another, they put forward their own requests. The scene was chaotic. Qin Haodong stood up and said, don't worry everyone. Shanshan is not in a hurry to leave. If you have any requests, you can put forward them. You can even take photos with me, but you have to do it one by one. Hearing what he said, the students immediately calmed down and lined up to take photos with Ouyang Shanshan. Zhang Tong, Zhao Pu and Jin Haiyang looked at each other, and their eyes were full of shock. They couldn't figure out who this gigolo was and why he had such a good relationship with Ouyang Shanshan, the big star. As for Zhao Pu, it was not as simple as being shocked. Ouyang Shanshan was his big boss, and she held his rice bowl in her hand. It seemed that as long as Qin Haodong said something, his rice bowl would be ruined. He regretted it. If he had known this would happen, he would not have provoked Qin Haodong. He should have flattered him more. Now he could only hope that Qin Haodong would forgive him and not care about his impoliteness just now. After a while, everyone returned to their seats with satisfaction after they had their photos taken. When the crowd dispersed, Zhao Pu came to Ouyang Shanshan's side tremblingly and said in a low voice, hello, boss. Zhao Pu, you're here too. Ouyang Shanshan was stunned at first and then said, you're wrong. I'm just the general manager in charge of management. Haodong is the boss of Dongxing Film and Television Company. Come and say hello to the boss. Hearing this news, Zhao Pu's legs went soft. It turned out that he had been provoking his own parents. He really didn't know if Qin Haodong would ask him to leave with his luggage. Boss, I'm sorry. Just now He was so scared that he couldn't even say a complete sentence. Qin Haodong waved his hand. He didn't want to argue with such a small figure. He said, go back and work hard in the future. Got it, boss. Thank you, boss. It was not easy for Zhao Pu to find this job. Seeing that Qin Haodong didn't argue with him, he was overjoyed and almost shed tears of gratitude. After this episode, everyone continued to sit down and eat. After seeing Qin Haodong's identity, Zhang Tong completely lost the courage to fight back. He sat aside silently and didn't say anything. But Jin Haiyang still felt a little unconvinced. He hadn't played his advantage yet. After a while, seeing that everyone was almost finished, he said, "Students, it's rare for us to get together, so I didn't prepare any gifts for you. Well, I'll take you to the Heaven Earth Trading Building to shop. As long as you want something, I promise you a 20% discount." After he finished speaking, Su Jiejia immediately stood up and responded, "Okay, I haven't gone shopping for a long time. I'll go with you today." Su Hui said, "Jin Haiyang, you're not bragging, are you? I heard that the things in the Heaven Earth Trading Building are never discounted." What she said was true. As the top consumer place in the capital, it was a major feature of the Heaven Earth Trading Building that goods were never discounted. Although the things here were expensive, you never had to worry about a discount after buying them. "Others can't get a discount, but I can," Jin Haiyang said proudly. "To tell you the truth, the manager of the clothing department of the Heaven Earth Trading Building is my second uncle. As long as I can find him, I can get a discount." Ouyang Shanshan didn't know that the Heaven Earth Trading Building was a dowry given to Qin Haodong by the Wei family. She took his arm and said, "Let's go shopping. I haven't gone shopping for a long time." Qin Haodong said, "Since everyone is in such a good mood, let's go shopping together." Half an hour later, they arrived at the Heaven Earth Trading Building together. It was a woman's nature to love shopping. When they arrived here, the female students were so excited that they began to shop around. Hearing that they could get a 20% discount, the other male students also wanted to seize this opportunity to buy something for the girls they liked. They also looked around and chose the goods they could accept. 2 hours later, everyone had chosen the goods they liked and turned to look for Jin Haiyang. Su Jiejia said, "I've already chosen the clothes I like. When will I pay?" Qin Haodong said with a smile, "Great designer, you make clothes yourself. Why do you still buy other people's clothes?" Su Jiejia said, "That's different. Everyone's clothes have different styles. I can't always wear clothes designed by myself. It's so monotonous." Seeing that everyone was surrounding him, Jin Haiyang glanced at Qin Haodong and said proudly, "Don't worry, I'll call my uncle now and ask him to come and give you a discount." Then he took out his mobile phone and dialed a number. Soon, a middle-aged man in his 50s came over. Chapter 756. This middle-aged man was the manager of the clothing department, Wu Dafu. "Uncle, you're here." Jin Haiyang immediately ran over and took Wu Dafu's hand. He turned to everyone and said, "Students, let me introduce you. This is my uncle. He's in charge of the entire clothing department of the mall." Everyone came over to say hello to Wu Dafu. Wu Dafu nodded and said, "You're all Haiyang's classmates. Welcome to my shop." Jin Haiyang said, "Uncle, everyone has chosen something. Please give us a discount." Wu Dafu said, "Since Haiyang has spoken, then we'll give you a 20% discount." "Thank you, uncle," Jin Haiyang said with a smile. It was definitely something to be proud of to be able to get a 20% discount in the Heaven Earth Trading Building. He turned to the others and said, "Everyone, come with me and pay together." "Wait a minute." Qin Haodong stopped Jin Haiyang and said to Wu Dafu, "Manager Wu, I want to ask, are the things we got at a 20% discount authentic?" Wu Dafu's face darkened. He felt that Jin Haiyang was too ignorant, but he still said patiently, "Don't worry, young man. Although we gave you a 20% discount, the goods are from the mall. They're absolutely authentic." Then he said to the cashier at the cashier's desk, "Xiao Wang, these people are my nephew's classmates. We'll give them a 20% discount." The cashier said, "Okay, Manager Wu." Su Jiejia had already gotten the shopping receipt and was about to go forward to pay. Qin Haodong stopped her and turned to Wu Dafu and said, "Manager Wu, I've long heard that there's no discount in the Heaven Earth Trading Building. Are you violating the rules?" Hearing this, Wu Dafu suddenly became angry and said to Jin Haiyang, "Haiyang, what's wrong with your classmate? Is he out of his mind? I'm giving him a discount. Why is he so troublesome?" Jin Haiyang was also unhappy and said to Qin Haodong, "Are you deliberately making trouble? Don't you want everyone to buy things at a discount?" Qin Haodong said lightly, "It's a good thing to give students discounts, but I don't want you to use my money to give them discounts." The Heaven Earth Trading Building was now under his name. Wu Dafu and Jin Haiyang's behavior was no different from stealing his money. In other words, they were using his money to do favors. However, Jin Haiyang didn't know this. After hearing this, he immediately laughed and said, "Is there something wrong with your head? I'll return your money. What does this shopping mall have to do with you? Don't tell me this is also your property." Qin Haodong said, "You're right. This is my property." Jin Haiyang said, "You're bragging, right? Do you know how much this heaven and earth trading building is worth? To steal your property. Dream on." Qin Haodong ignored him and turned to Wu Dafu and said, "To put it mildly, what you're doing is against the rules of the mall. To put it more seriously, it's illegal. Don't you know that?" Wu Dafu was completely furious this time. He roared at Jin Haiyang, "Is your classmate crazy? Why are you bringing everyone to me?" Jin Haiyang said, "Uncle, he's not my classmate. You can do whatever you want with him. You don't have to care about me." Hearing that he was not Jin Haiyang's classmate, Wu Dafu immediately waved to several security guards. He pointed at Qin Haodong and shouted, "This guy is here to make trouble. Throw him out." Several security guards stepped forward and were about to take action. At this time, someone next to them shouted, "Stop." Everyone looked in the direction of the voice and saw a short and fat middle-aged man running over. It was Sun Rong, the general manager of the Heaven Earth Trading Building. Wu Dafu's face was originally full of anger, but when he saw Sun Rong, his expression immediately changed and he greeted him with a flattering face. "Manager Sun, what brings you here?" Generally speaking, Sun Rong was in charge of the entire Heaven Earth Trading Building. He was busy with business and rarely came to his clothing department. However, Sun Rong didn't even look at him. He scolded the security guards, "Are you all F***king crazy? How dare you attack the boss?" He was originally scolding the security guards, but his words were like divine thunder in Wu Dafu's ears, which almost scared him out of his wits. Recently, he heard that the boss of the Heaven Earth Trading Building had been changed, but he didn't expect that it was this young man in front of him. Thinking of what he had just done, his legs became weak and he almost wet his pants. Jin Haiyang was also completely stunned. He had just laughed at Qin Haodong, but he didn't expect that he was really the boss here. He was the boss of the Taotai Hotel and the Dongxing Entertainment Company. He didn't expect that he was also the boss of this place. Su Jiejia and the others were extremely shocked. They didn't know who Su Hui's boyfriend was. Was he a member of a big family? How could he be so rich? The Taotai Hotel, the Dongxing Entertainment Company, and the Heaven Earth Trading Building were three bosses. Their total assets were probably no less than 10 billion yuan, right? Sun Rong didn't care about anything else. After scolding the security guards, he ran to Qin Haodong with a flattering face and said, "Boss, what can I do for you?" Qin Haodong said lightly, "Manager Sun, let me ask you, is there a 20% discount rule in our shopping mall?" Sun Rong said, "No, there is a clear rule in our shopping mall that there is no discount for all goods." "Then does the department manager have the right to give a 20% discount?" Sun Rong said, "Boss, even I, the general manager, don't have the right to give a discount, not to mention the department manager." Qin Haodong looked at Wu Dafu and said, "But I just saw Manager Wu giving a discount to someone confidently and asking the security guards to throw me out. What's going on?" Hearing this, cold sweat broke out on Sun Rong's forehead. Such a thing had happened in the shopping mall and the boss had seen it directly. As the general manager, he couldn't escape the blame. If he didn't handle it well, he was afraid that he would lose his position. He turned around and shouted at Wu Dafu, "Wu Dafu, how dare you openly violate the rules of the building? Go to the finance department to settle your salary immediately and then get out of here." Wu Dafu was nearly 50 years old and had just become a department manager. If he was fired, it would be difficult for him to find another job at his age. He knew what the problem was. He hurriedly came to Qin Haodong and knelt on the ground. "Boss, please, I was wrong this time. Please give me another chance. I won't dare to do it again in the future. As the saying goes, a pitiful person must be hateful." Qin Haodong had no pity for such a person and waved his hand at Sun Rong. Sun Rong immediately shouted to the security guard next to him, "Hurry up and take him away. Don't affect the boss's mood." Seeing that his uncle had been influenced by him and had lost his job, Jin Haiyang said angrily to Qin Haodong, "Qin, my uncle has knelt down to you. Aren't you going too far? As my employee Wu Dafu used my money to do favors in private. Is it too much for me to fire him?" Qin Haodong smiled coldly, "Since you say I'm going too far, then I'll go too far." He said to Sun Rong, "Immediately inform the Economic Investigation Department of the Public Security Bureau to check the accounts of the clothing department. I heard that the supplier in front of him was Manager Wu's nephew. They were an uncle and a nephew. One was the supplier and the other was the buyer. Even a fool would not believe that there was nothing fishy going on between them. Once financial problems are found, immediately transfer them to the public security organ and deal with them impartially. There will be no tolerance. Okay boss, I'll call the police now. In order to get rid of his management responsibility, Sun Rong was extremely active. He immediately took out his mobile phone and called the police. This time, Jin Haiyang was completely dumbfounded and wanted to slap himself. If it was just the money they had earned over the years, at least the rest of their lives would not be a problem. If the public security department intervened in the investigation, he was afraid that his uncle and nephew would spend the rest of their lives in prison. Mr. Chin, I was wrong. I just said it casually. My uncle should be fired for this kind of behavior. You did nothing wrong. Let's let it go. In the face of Jin Haiyang's plea, Qin Haodong ignored it at all. He directly turned his head to the other side and did not stop Sun Rong from calling the police. Jin Haiyang was really panicked this time. It was the first time that he felt so close to prison. He quickly turned his head to look at Su Hui and said, Hui, we've been classmates for many years. Please help me. Don't call the police, okay? After all, Su Hui was a girl. She couldn't bear to face Jin Haiyang's plea. She pulled Qin Haodong's sleeve and said, Haodong, can we deal with it in another way? Don't call the police, okay? Jin Haiyang quickly said, Yes, Mr. Qin, let's talk about it. As long as you don't call the police, everything will be easy. For Su Hui's sake, I'll let you go this time. Qin Haodong said to Sun Rong, Don't call the police for the time being. Let the company's internal finance department audit the accounts of the clothing department. The deficit must be made up by Jin Haiyang and Wu Dafu. Call the police immediately if there is a penny missing. Jin Haiyang's face was pale. Over the years, he and Wu Dafu had obtained a large amount of money from the Heaven-Earth Trading Building by making false accounts. This was not a small amount of money. It would definitely cost him his life to pay it back. However, compared with the rest of his life in prison, paying it back was the best choice. Mr. Qin, don't worry. I'll raise the money now and I'll definitely pay it back in full. After that, he didn't have the face to stay here anymore. He ran out of the shopping mall in disgrace. After Jin Haiyang left, the other students came to their senses from the shock. They didn't expect that so many things would happen when they bought clothes. Although everyone knew that he had brought this upon himself and it was the best result that Qin Haodong didn't pursue his criminal responsibility, everyone felt a little regretful. After all, they still had the shopping receipt of the shopping building in their hands. It seemed that there was no hope for a 20% discount. Seeing the students' emotions, Su Hui said to Qin Haodong in a low voice, Haodong, look, the students have all chosen their things. Can you make the decision to give them a discount? Qin Haodong shook his head and said, Of course not. I don't have the habit of giving discounts. Hearing this, the students around them sighed. It seemed that they could only return the things. But at this time, Qin Haodong said, I never give discounts to my friends. They're all free of charge. We're all Su Hui's classmates. No matter what you just chose, it's all free of charge. It's all on my account. Hooray. Su Hui's classmates immediately cheered. The things they had bought were not small and some of them had even reached 5 figures. They didn't expect that all of them would be free of charge. Zhang Tong and Zhao Pu lowered their heads at the same time. They had already realized how big the gap between them and Qin Haodong was. There was no comparison at all. After paying the bill with these people, Su Hui said goodbye to her classmates. Qin Haodong took Ouyang Shanshan and Su Hui to the Tang sect. Qin Haodong drove and the 2 girls sat in the back. Su Hui leaned over and whispered in Qin Haodong's ear, How many properties do you have? Did I find a super rich man? Chapter 757. Along the way, Qin Haodong explained his situation to the 2 women in detail while driving. After returning to the Tang sect, the whole family became very lively because of the 2 new members. In particular, the arrival of Ouyang Shanshan made those who liked to listen to her songs very excited. The little fellow had been around her and was very happy. All of this changed when Lin Momo came back. She walked into the house with a sullen face and shouted to the laughing little fellow, Tang, come here. The little fellow, who had been happy, seemed to realize that things were not good. She ran behind Chu Shenyue in a few steps, put her arms around her neck and said, Grandma, help me. Don't be afraid, Grandma is here. Chu Shenyue spoiled the little fellow very much. Seeing Lin Momo's bad face, she immediately said, What's wrong? Tang Tang is still a child. Why are you so fierce to her? Lin Momo said, Auntie, I just came back from kindergarten. You don't know how much trouble she made at school. Now she has been expelled and is not allowed to go to school tomorrow. Qin Haodong said curiously, My daughter is very obedient. What did she do to be expelled from school? How dare your daughter say that she is obedient? Lin Momo said angrily, She asked the class teacher to give all the little red flags to her. Qin Haodong said in surprise, It's my daughter's good performance that she can get so many little red flags. Good performance my ass. Lin Momo unexpectedly burst out a rare swear word, which showed that she was extremely angry. She let a child eat 2 erasers. Is that good performance? She asked the child to call the teacher's sister. Is that good performance? She asked the child to run naked and refuse to wear clothes. Is that good performance? Hearing her mother accusing her of crimes, the little fellow couldn't help but defend. They bullied me because I was a child from another place, so I taught them a lesson. Lin Momo said angrily, That's not good either. Have you forgotten that Mom told you to get along well with children? Wait, I'm a little dizzy. Chu Xinyue said in surprise, What the hell are you talking about? It seems that the teachers and students in the school listen to my granddaughter and do whatever she wants them to do. How could there be such a thing? Lin Momo said, Isn't it obvious? Haodong must have taught her mind manipulating. Now the school says she's a little monster, so she's not allowed to go to school. After that, she glared at Qin Haodong and said, How can you spoil your child so much? Now I'm in trouble. I didn't. Qin Haodong looked aggrieved and innocent. Suddenly he understood what was going on and shouted, Xiaoxian, come here. At this time, Hu Xiaoxian was quietly moving to the door of the room. She was about to escape, but Qin Haodong called her back. I just wanted to go to the washroom. If there's anything, let's talk when I come back. After saying that, she was about to run, but was stopped by Qi Weiner, who said with a smile, Sister Xiaoxian, didn't we just go to the toilet together? Why are you going now? Is it because you need to pee? Qin Haodong stepped forward, grabbed Hu Xiaoxian's arm and pulled her over. Tell me what the hell is going on. Did you pass the fox hypnosis to Tang Tang? Seeing that she couldn't avoid it, Hu Xiaoxian stretched out 2 fingers and said embarrassedly, Just a little. Only then did everyone understand what was going on. It turned out that Hu Xiaoxian had passed the fox hypnosis to Tang Tang, which caused such a big trouble at school. Qin Haodong said, You're really not afraid of trouble. Tang Tang is so young. Why did you teach her this skill? Hu Xiaoxian explained, I think Tang Tang's aptitude is very good, and she likes to learn, so I taught her a little. Qin Haodong stared at her and said, Just a little? A little can make children eat erasers and call the teacher sister? It's the first level of the fox hypnosis. I promise I didn't teach her the second level. Qin Haodong said with a wry smile, The first level has caused such a big trouble. If you teach her the second level, won't it turn the world upside down? Hearing the conversation between the two, the little fellow did not feel afraid. On the contrary, her eyes lit up and her big eyes blinked as if she was thinking of something bad. Chu Xinyue said, Well, that's it. Don't let Tang Tang use the fox hypnosis indiscriminately in the future. Seeing that the old lady was protecting her granddaughter, Lin Momo couldn't say anything more. The next day, Tang Tang stayed at home to play because she couldn't find a kindergarten for the time being. After breakfast, Qin Haodong went to the clinic to help as usual and went to school. The others were also busy with their own things. The little fellow watched TV with Chu Xinyue for a while and then said, Grandma, I'm going out to play for a while. Go ahead. Just don't go out. It was very safe in the Tang sect. Chu Xinyue didn't think much and let the little fellow go out directly. Tang Tang left the living room and trotted to Hu Xiaoxian's room. Any Xiaoxian, what are you doing? Hu Xiaoxian was lying on the bed playing with her mobile phone. When she saw the little fellow coming, she put down the mobile phone in her hand, sat up and said, You stinky Tang Tang, you said that I would teach you fox hypnosis and you would call me mom in the future. Now you call me auntie. Are you not keeping your promise? The little fellow smiled slyly and said, It's Auntie Xiaoxian who didn't keep her promise. You only taught me the first stage and didn't teach me the second stage, so our agreement doesn't count. Why don't you teach me the second stage and I'll call you mom in the future? Hu Xiaoxian reached out and pinched her white and tender face. You little girl, you still want to learn. Didn't you see that I was scolded by your father yesterday? The little fellow said, That's because my papa is unreasonable. Why can they bully me but I can't teach them a lesson? At this time, the little fellow's performance was completely different from a few months ago. In contrast, she was much more mature. This was the effect of the Suzaku sacred body. Whether it was psychological development or physical development, Tang Tang was several times faster than children of the same age. Now she had the IQ of a 6 or 7-year-old child. Anyway, you've made a big mistake this time. Any Xiaoxian, I know I'm wrong. The little fellow said and threw herself into Hu Xiaoxian's arms. She reached out and hugged her neck. She kissed her on the cheek and said, "Tell me what's the difference between the second stage and the first stage of mental cultivation method?" Hu Xiaoxian held the little fellow in her arms and said, "The first stage of fox hypnosis requires the use of eyes, expressions, body movements and language to control the thoughts of others. But when it comes to the second stage, it's not necessary. You can directly control others through spiritual force." The little fellow blinked her big eyes and said, "Does that mean that as long as I practice the second stage of mental cultivation method, the teachers won't find out that I did it?" Hu Xiaoxian said, "You still want to learn. I won't teach you, you troublemaker. Auntie Xiaoxian, leave it to me. I promise I'll call you mom when I see you in the future." Hu Xiaoxian shook her head and said, "That won't do. If I teach you, your father will eat me." "Auntie Xiaoxian, I promise you that I won't use it indiscriminately after I learn it, unless someone bullies me." "That won't do, Auntie Xiaoxian, if you don't teach me the second stage of mental cultivation method, I promise that when you and Dad have a little brother in the future, I will bully him." "You little elf, how dare you threaten Auntie Xiaoxian?" The two of them talked for a long time. Finally, Hu Xiaoxian had no choice but to say, "I can teach you the second stage of mental cultivation method, but you must ensure that I can't use it indiscriminately on others, and you can't let your father know." The little fellow raised her white and tender little hand and said, "If Dad knows, I'll have no candy to eat in the future." "Well, I'll teach you the second stage of mental cultivation method now, but you have to practice it slowly. You definitely can't master it in a short time." The reason why Hu Xiaoxian agreed to teach her the second stage of fox hypnosis was that she liked the little fellow and had no choice. On the other hand, the second stage of mental cultivation method was extremely demanding on people's spiritual force. Even she could only practice the second stage after reaching the supreme power realm. In her opinion, even if she taught Tang Tang the mental cultivation method, the little fellow would not be able to master it in a short time. When her mind was more mature, even if she mastered it, she would not use it indiscriminately. But what she didn't know was that the Eyes of Phoenix that Tang Tang practiced was originally a magic skill of a Yuan sect, which had a significant effect on improving people's spiritual force. The reason was very simple. If there was no strong spiritual force, how could she control the flame? Therefore, although the little fellow's cultivation was not very high, her spiritual force was extremely strong. At least, she did not belong to the ordinary supreme power realm. Tang Tang was indeed very talented in learning fox hypnosis, and soon she completely mastered the second stage of mental cultivation method. "Xiaoxian's mother, I'm going to play with Damao and Ermao." The little fellow ran out of the room happily, but she did not go to find Damao and Ermao. Instead, she was eager to find someone to test her second stage of fox hypnosis. She ran to the door and said to Zhang Tiniu, "Uncle Tiniu, can you let me go out to play for a while?" While speaking, the little fellow directly used fox hypnosis, and an invisible spiritual force went straight to Zhang Tiniu's brain palace. Zhang Tiniu felt dizzy for a while, but after all, he was a supreme power realm master. At present, he was not under Tang Tang's control, so he quickly recovered. "No, the boss specially said that you can play in the yard, but you can't go out." "Well, I'm going back." The little fellow turned around and ran back, muttering, "Maybe Uncle Tiniu is too powerful. I need someone else to try." At this time she happened to see Uncle Wang. The little fellow ran over with a leaf and said, "Grandpa Wang, can you help me see what color this leaf is?" Uncle Wang said, "Tang Tang, this leaf is red." "I see." The little fellow ran away happily after hearing that. I made it." She was holding a green leaf in her hand. The reason why Uncle Wang said that it was red just now was that he was controlled by her fox hypnosis, so he thought that the leaf in front of him was red. If Hu Xiaoxian knew that Tang Tang had mastered the second stage so quickly, she would be so surprised that her jaw would drop. It was too fast. This time, the little fellow didn't find someone else to experiment with. She went directly to play with Damao and Ermao. Just a few days ago, Qin Haodong asked someone to take Damao and Ermao to the Tang sect. At this time, the two snow mastiffs had grown taller and thicker than lions, looking extremely powerful. The little fellow jumped lightly and rode on Damao's neck. "Damao, go." Damao leaped forward fiercely, dragging little master along as he sprinted through the Tang sect's courtyard. Everyone who saw this only smiled lightly, no one cared. Chapter 758. The speed of the Black Shadow was so fast that even in broad daylight, he was like a ghost and came to Tang Tang's back in a flash. Ermao, who was next to her, was very alert. He immediately noticed the arrival of the black-clothed man. He let out a roar and rushed up. However, the black-clothed man was too fast. He hit the little fellow's Haitian acupoint with his left hand and took her into his arms with his right hand. With a slight flash, he dodged Ermao's attack and then rushed out of the wall like a flowing light. Damao and Ermao chased after him, but compared with the black-clothed man, they were too slow. In the blink of an eye, the black-clothed man disappeared without a trace. After being changed by the body-refining pill, Damao and Ermao were not only strong, but also much more intelligent than ordinary animals. They were equivalent to human children of 5 or 6 years old. Seeing that their little master had been taken away, they rushed into the villa building of the Tang sect like crazy. Everyone in the Tang sect was shocked. Although these two big guys looked fierce, they were actually very docile. No one knew what happened to them today. They suddenly went crazy. Damao and Ermao rushed into the building and ran all the way to the living room. Damao opened his mouth and bit Chu Xuanyue's dress, pulling it frantically to the door. Chu Xuanyue was shocked and slapped Damao's head away. But at this time Ermao rushed up again, still biting her dress and dragging it out. The Nalan sisters were accompanying them. After seeing the state of Damao and Ermao, Nalan Wushuang said in surprise, "These two dogs are usually very psychic. What's wrong with them today?" Nalan Wuxia said, "I think they have something to do and want us to go out." Hearing her words, Damao and Ermao nodded, which was rare, to show that she was right. Then they roared wildly, looking extremely anxious. Chu Xuanyue also realized that something was wrong and said, "Something must have happened. Let's go and have a look." The three of them followed Damao and Ermao out of the building. Damao took them to the place where Tang Tang had just been taken away, and then began to roar outside. Nalan Wushuang said, "What do they mean?" Nalan Wuxia said, "It seems that they want to tell us something but they can't say it." At this time Ermao suddenly rushed forward, opened his mouth and ran back with a pink hair clip in his mouth, and threw it in front of the three people with a snap. Chu Xuanyue picked up the hair clip, looked at it and said, "This is Tang Tang's hair clip." Nalan Wushuang's expression suddenly changed. "Oh no, maybe something happened to Tang Tang?" After listening to her, the two snow mastiffs began to nod frantically again, and then they anxiously circled in the same place. Tang Tang is in trouble? But this is the Tang sect. How is that possible? Hearing this news, Chu Xuanyue was also anxious. She immediately gathered people and began to look for Tang Tang in the Tang sect. Hearing the news that Tang Tang was missing, Hu Shaoxian, Feng Wu, Wei Yanran, and others rushed out of the building. These people were all masters. A few minutes later they searched every corner of the Tang sect, but Tang Tang was nowhere to be found. Hu Shaoxian said anxiously, "Tang Tang was in my room just now. Why is she gone?" "Tang Tang has been taken away." Chu Xuanyue was furious because she could not find the little fellow. Someone had run into the Tang sect and taken away her granddaughter. This had touched the reverse scale of the entire Tang sect. Since she reunited with Qin Haodong, she had been retreating and was willing to play the role of a loving mother. But at this time she was completely angry. She regained the momentum of a domineering female president and began to give orders to the people of the Tang sect. "Feng Wu, you guard the east gate of the capital now. If you find the thief who took Tang Tang, kill him on the spot, but you must ensure Tang Tang's safety. Wushuang, you guard the west gate. Wuxia, you guard the north gate. Shaoxian, you guard the south gate." Soon she sent 4 daughters-in-law who had reached the Saint Realm, to guard the 4 exits of the capital to ensure that Tang Tang would not be taken away from the capital. Feng Wu and the others answered and rose into the air. After reaching the Saint Realm, they had been able to skillfully control the chi of heaven and earth. They summoned a mist to wrap their bodies and then rushed to the 4 directions of the capital. Chu Xuanyue then said to Ma Wenjua, "Send an emergency signal now and summon all the people of the Tang sect back." It was daytime and many people of the Tang sect were working outside. They had to be summoned back immediately. Ma Wenjua agreed and released the signal flare that the Tang sect had entered a state of emergency. This kind of signal flare was specially developed by Qin Haodong and could not be used unless there was an emergency. The signal flare flew high into the sky and then exploded with a bang. A huge Tang character appeared in the air. With 3 crisp sounds, all 3 signal flare exploded in the sky, indicating that the Tang sect had entered a very urgent state. Lin Momo was preparing for the entry of the spirit stone jewelry into the capital. When she saw the emergency signal, she knew that something big had happened at home. She immediately put down all her work and rushed back to the Tang sect. Yan Feifei had originally returned to the Yan family to visit Yan Fengwu. When she saw the signal, she instantly disappeared and rushed back to the Tang sect. The others did the same. When they saw the emergency signal, no matter what they were doing, they rushed back to the Tang sect without hesitation. Tang has been taken away. We must take action immediately. Chu Xianyue glanced at the people who had rushed back and said to Yan Feifei, Feifei, you are responsible for controlling the airport. Don't let anyone take Tang away. Yan Feifei agreed and immediately rushed to the airport with her people. Then the others were also sent out one by one. Chu Xianyue was completely determined. Even if she had to turn the entire capital upside down, she would find her granddaughter. Nailan Wushuang, Nailan Wuxia, Feng Wu, and Hu Shaoxian were stationed in 4 directions of the capital. They stepped in the air. In order to prevent ordinary people from panicking, they all pulled out a mist to cover their bodies. However, the powerful momentum could not be concealed. Ordinary people could not feel it, but the martial artists could clearly feel it and knew that there was a super strong person guarding here. Although they did not cultivate a terrifying spirit like Qin Haodong, their insight was far better than ordinary people. As long as someone took Tang to break through in this direction, they would immediately stop them. In the capital, Yan Feifei and Qi Wan'er, the 2 martial saints, led Lin Momo, Wei Yanran, Han Jiu, Zhao Qinggu, and the others to carry out a strict search. For a moment, the people of the Tang sect were like a big net that covered the sky and the earth, covering the entire capital. In this way, all the upper-class families in the capital were shocked. 4 saints were guarding the 4 directions of the capital. In addition to Yan Feifei and Qi Wan'er, who were searching in the center, it meant that they already had 6 martial saints. How could they not panic? Including the Qin family who had a saint. Qin Zhanlong finally understood that it was not unjust for him to be beaten up by a group of people last time. It turned out that they were also saints and they did not resort to tricks. Only the Tang sect could do this. At the same time, they were also very curious about who was not afraid of death to provoke the Tang sect. What did they do to make them so angry? Why did they mobilize so many people? At a civil airport 100 miles away from the capital, the man in black who was holding Tang in his arms, looked back and could not help but feel a lingering fear. Fortunately he ran fast, otherwise he would really be in trouble. He had long heard that the Tang sect was powerful, so after catching Tang, he rushed out of the capital without stopping. It was too late for Chu Xianyue to make arrangements. He turned around and said to another middle-aged man in a suit next to him, Miura-san, are you ready? We must leave immediately. Master Chiba, everything is ready. As long as you give the order, we can fly back to the capital immediately. Hurry up. Wuxia is too dangerous. We can't stay here any longer. The strength shown by the Tang sect was too strong. It was 10 times stronger than what he had known before. Even though the man in black had reached the 9th level of the Supreme Power Realm, he did not dare to fight them head-on. He immediately took Tang and the middle-aged man to a civil plane. After a while they rose into the air and flew east. Qin Haodong had a class this morning. As soon as the class was over, he heard a student by the window shouting, "Look, what beautiful fireworks." He glanced out of the window and his expression suddenly changed when he saw the huge Tang character. If there was no emergency they would never use this kind of signal. Teacher, look, the fireworks are really beautiful and they fly so high. A female student turned around and called Qin Haodong, only to find that the podium was empty and the teacher was nowhere to be seen. Qin Haodong found a place where there was no one, stepped on the Shen Yuan sword and flew away. In the blink of an eye he returned to the Tang sect. After entering the door, he saw Chu Xianyue and asked hurriedly, "Mom, what happened?" "Son, you're back." After seeing Qin Haodong, Chu Xianyue, who was tense, immediately relaxed. She sobbed and said, "Was Tang stolen?" "What? Tang was stolen? When did it happen?" Chu Xianyue told him about the process of Tang's disappearance. Qin Haodong's face immediately became extremely serious. He was very clear about the defensive strength of the Tang sect. The person who could steal Tang here was definitely a master, at least at the 9th level of the Supreme Power Realm. However, he did not panic like Chu Xianyue. On the contrary, he comforted her, "Mom, don't worry. They must have kidnapped Tang to threaten our Tang sect. Before they achieve their goal, Tang is absolutely safe. Son, what should we do? We have to save Tang as soon as possible. She's still so young." Mom, don't worry. I'll think of a way. After saying that, Qin Haodong directly cut the index finger of his left hand. A dark red bead of blood slipped out and floated in the air. Blood drawing skill. This was the most effective way for him to find Tang Tang, but he soon found that the blood drawing skill had failed this time. He could not find any information about Tang Tang. After his cultivation was promoted to the Saint Realm, the benefits of his blood drawing skill could cover a radius of 100 miles. Now there was no information, which meant that Tang Tang was already 100 miles away. It seemed that the other party had been prepared. Once they succeeded, they would immediately escape. Chu Shenyue said anxiously, "How is it, son?" Qin Haodong stopped the blood drawing skill and said, "Call everyone back. Tang Tang is no longer in the capital." Chu Shenyue believed her son's words and immediately arranged for Uncle Wang to do it. Then she said, "What should we do?" "Don't worry. As I said, they kidnapped Tang Tang to threaten our Tang sect. If they wanted to kill Tang Tang, they would have done it at the time. There was no need to make it so troublesome. Moreover, Tang Tang is so young. There is no need for them to kill her. What we have to do now is not panic and wait for the news from them. They will definitely contact us after confirming that she is safe." At this time, everyone outside ran back one after another. When Lin Momo saw Qin Haodong, she said anxiously, "Haodong, have you found Tang Tang?" Qin Haodong comforted her, "Don't panic. I think there will be news in a while." In Japan, by the seaside, an old man with white hair and beard and wooden clogs stood on a huge reef with his hands behind his back. He looked into the distance and let the sea breeze blow at his kimono, making it flutter. He was the sage of sword, Kyochiba, who was known as the #1 master in Neon. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.